Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the Ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
And now, a manly fairy tale. Once upon a time, a prince asked a beautiful princess, "Will you marry me?" The princess immediately said, "No!" and laughed at him and walked away. And the prince lived happily ever after, and rode motorcycles, and dated thin, long-legged women, and hunted, and fished, and raced cars, and went to bars and dated ladies half his age, and drank whiskey, beer, and Captain Morgan, and never heard nagging, and never paid child support or alimony, and dated cheerleaders, and kept his house and guns, and ate Spam and potato chips and beans, and all his friends and family thought he was so cool, and he had tons of money in the bank, and he left the toilet seat up whenever he wanted to. The end. Here comes Kate Smith and God Bless America, followed by a patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning, good morning. 11, 12, 13 won't happen for 100 years. Good morning, good morning. Yes, sir, Bob. I'm Zeb Bell on Zeb at the Ranch with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations getting you ready for wintertime driving. Along with some of our great advertisers, including Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley, and our friends at Western Way Services. Get on the route service today. Call them 734-6969. Good morning, Princess.
Good morning. How are you?
I are fine.
You are fine this morning on a fine Tuesday.
Yeah. 11, 12, 13. Won't happen again for over 100 years.
And they're saying there was a poll study done that over 3,000 weddings are going to take place today just because of the day.
Well, that brings to mind what this day is, because a wedding happened 42 years ago.
42 for you? Is today your
Today is Deanne and my anniversary.
Happy anniversary to you.
Thank you very much.
How could she deal with you for... never mind. Deanne, we love you.
We need to talk about that paycheck.
Now, before we get into the pledge, there is one little thing that a little person that we need to wish happy birthday to.
Okay.
And this little person is actually going to do our pledge today.
All right.
So we need to say a big happy birthday to Miss Abigail Hansen.
Abby is going to have her birthday today?
Today is her birthday.
Oh, my goodness. Crank that music up. Oh, yeah. Abby's having a birthday. Listen to those guitars.
Sing it, Abby.
Woo, baby. Abby, happy birthday to you. Give us the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Happy birthday.
Happy anniversary.
She's sharp. She is so sharp. Thank you, Abby. God bless you, and have a real nice birthday today, okay?
You too.
All right, God bless you. Thank you so much. What a lovely girl. I just think the world of her. Oh, my goodness sakes. Let's find out what the weather's going to be. Here now, the world's greatest weatherman, MichaelRogersWeather.com.
You gonna do that for my birthday the day after Thanksgiving?
Absolutely.
Okay, I'll be 59.
You're getting old, Michael.
Yeah, I know. And the music that I want the music of Led Zeppelin, please. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. It is a nice day to be in the Magic Valley of South Central Idaho, located in the Great Basin Intermountain West. A lot of sun, a lot of clouds. It's going to be warm today, 68 for the high. How about that? 61 for the high tomorrow, 50 for Thursday. It's going to be a nice fall day, and no precipitation in the forecast. Winds are not going to be a problem. Nice day to celebrate a birthday with the Beatles. Today is your birthday. Have a great day. Enjoy the weather we're feeling and weather you got.
Good guy right there. Best weatherman around anywhere. MichaelRogersWeather.com. Thank you very much. Oh, my. I got a lot of things to talk about this morning. And first and foremost, I want to mention our friends Daryl's Cleaners at 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Oh, I'll tell you, they can clean anything, all your rumply crumplies, and make them look brand spanking new. Your drapes and all your curtains and everything. Good heavens, the Thanksgiving and Christmas holidays are around the corner and you haven't taken them in there yet? Hurry, get them into Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. You'll be so happy. You better believe it, nice people at Daryl's Cleaners. Also want to remind everybody about SafeLink Internet. Man, oh man. If it wasn't for SafeLink Internet, a lot of the information that I have on this program, we wouldn't have. I mean, absolutely, they are the best. And they've got programs that'll fit your needs, and you can say yes to unlimited data, free installations. Their service work is impeccable. They really do a nice job with super smart people. And all you have to do is call 677-8000. 677-8000, Idaho's #1 choice in wireless high-speed Internet. SafeLink Internet. Call them today. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Well, good morning, Mr. Bell. Happy anniversary to you and your lovely bride.
Well, thank you, Donna. How are you this morning?
I am just wonderful, thanks.
Well, you're very welcome. And yesterday, I want to say kudos to your husband, George, for helping line everything out for our Veterans Day program. Wow. We had so many nice people call. And right from the get-go with George on the air, and then Alex Lissau, and then also his grandson, Alex Triplett, and then we had the wonderful people, Ken Mort, Michael Greenwell, Georgia Greenwell, and, of course, my hero, Russell Smith.
Yes, sir, you're very welcome. You know, yesterday was a very special day, and my husband is all about the veterans. Anything we can do to promote their cause and to get help for them and to bring the POWs and the MIAs out to the forefront, I'm all for it. You know, we have so many people who don't understand that there are still people out there that are missing.
Absolutely.
And you got to give kudos to our armed forces. They are 100% into their job.
Absolutely. No, it was a very special day yesterday, a very emotional day, and George and you have always been so helpful to us. So thank you for your call and your kind comments, and just enjoy this day, because it won't happen again for over 100 years.
I know, and you need to make sure you take your lovely bride out to lunch or dinner.
No, we're not going to go second class. No, we're flying first class today. I'm taking her out, and I'm buying her all kinds of goodies this afternoon. We're going on a shopping tour, and you know how much I hate to shop, and I'm going to grin and bear it, and then I'm going to take her out for dinner this evening. It's going to be a day of fun and frolic, and then tomorrow I'll probably gripe and moan, but that's all right.
You'll have a hangover, but what the heck? You only live once.
There you go. Thank you for your call.
Have a wonderful day, guys.
All right, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Don't forget Ramsey Heating and Electric, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, 678-0459. And now is the time to change those air filters for your furnace. Your furnace is sitting downstairs, and it's just saying, okay, turn me in, let me play, get me in the game, and you turn up the thermostat and you forgot to give them a new air filter, and they go, oh, I'm trying. Well, stop over to Ramsey Heating and Electric and buy the good quality air filters, not the cheap ones. Buy them by the box and save 10%. Ramsey Heating and Electric, of course, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. Happy anniversary, Mr. Bell.
Well, Mr. Butler, we're being so polite and so cordial. Thank you.
I thought I'd give you a shock right off the bat.
It knocked me right off my chair.
Well, I've accomplished one thing today.
Yes, sir.
Anyway, happy anniversary, and I'll send Deanna sympathy card.
There you go. You had to go and wreck everything. You couldn't remain nice. You had to get the knife out of the sheath and stab me right in the back.
I just can't have it.
I know it. It's you.
Hey, you know, last night I watched that ball game, and you know why the Tampa Bay's having trouble?
I'm laughing because I haven't got enough time to give you all the reasons.
They are the laziest bunch of people I've ever seen, and finally last night the coaching staff blew their cork, and that's one reason they won, because of that number 17 when he done that dumb thing on the, close to the goal line.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's the reason right there. And then until they get some discipline and some coordinators, they're going to have a hell of a time the rest of the season.
Yeah, but no, here's the point here, Al. You just touched on it. These are highly paid prima donnas that are on an ego trip, and they think the ego and their abilities and what they want to do for their career supersedes the team atmosphere. And I'm sick of it. And I'm glad these coaches are having enough and saying, listen, you ego blankety blank, sit on the bench, do your job, and don't say anything unless I ask you.
Did you watch that when that number 17 did what he did?
Oh, Al, I'm so fed up with some of these pro players.
Yeah. Anyway, have a good one. Happy anniversary, and have a good day, Deanne.
Oh, we appreciate you, Al. It takes a while, but we do. Thank you. Caller, I'll be right there. Don't go away. I got to tell everybody about what's happening over at Valleywide Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. Hey, this Saturday, they're going to have turkey bowling. I'm not kidding you. They got a bunch of frozen turkeys. You go on in there and roll one down their alleyway and see what you win. I'm telling you, turkey bowling and prizes from 11 to 2 on Saturday. When those dudes thaw out, it's going to be a wreck. 10% off everything in the store, 20% off on all the clothing and the footwear, and if you bring in 2 cans of food, you'll receive an additional 5% off your purchase. You bet! Go in there and bowl those turkeys while they're still frozen. It's going to be a mess when they're not, and that's at Valleywide Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert this Saturday. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Jeb. Happy anniversary to you and your bride.
Well, Georgie, thank you very much. That was very nice of you. And by the way, kudos to you for all your help yesterday. That was an outstanding program.
Thank you, Jeb. I wish I could have listened to the program, but I had the privilege of going to Oakley and listening to my grandson up there doing the Patriot program. And then I had a special treat going to St. Nicholas. Kennedy, Gina's boy, was there, and a very pleasant surprise. Our little Princess Brooke was just bellowing those tunes out.
Oh, wonderful. You know, it just gives you a real good feeling for the future when you see these kids getting involved in patriotism and service back to our country and basically saying thank you to our veterans. That was a nice deal yesterday.
It was, and not being rude, but you could have stuck a basketball in those little kids' mouth. Boy, they would have put those tunes out so we could hear them. It was awesome.
I love it. George, thank you for all you do, and I mean that. Thanks isn't enough, but believe me, we do appreciate you.
Okay, and I'm just sitting there drinking coffee and eating that loaf of zucchini bread I got.
Yeah, rub it in. Every time you stop by, it's like a handout to the poor. Deanne stands there with the door. Here, you want another loaf of banana bread, another loaf of zucchini bread? Here, have some new muffins. I just baked them, and they go right by my desk, and I don't see them.
I need to come over to your house more.
Yeah, you do. Maybe I could steal one from you after she gives you a muffin. I mean, I'm hard-pressed to get any.
I'll sneak you one.
Thank you very much.
I'm going to get in trouble for this, but, your wife is an excellent cook like mine.
Yes.
I'd have her cook at home. It's better than going out.
I tell you, no, George, please, don't start trouble. I promised her this day, and I'm not going to back up on my promise.
Yeah, that is fine. Anyway, you two have a good day.
All right. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.
You bet.
Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Caller, I'll be right there with you. I promise. Don't forget Middlecomb Ford, Lincoln Body Shop. I've said this on the air many times, and somebody asked me the other day, is that really true? And I said, yes, I did take my pickup there, and when we had that severe fire this summer, and I guarantee you I am absolutely satisfied. They did a wonderful job. If you've had an accident or a fender bender and you need work on your vehicle, I highly suggest you go to Middlecoff Ford Lincoln Body Shop, 1243 Blue Lakes Boulevard in Twin Falls. With well over 50 years of accumulated collision experience, they know what they're doing. Call them, 736-2490, Middlecoff Ford Lincoln Body Shop in Twin on Blue Lakes. You stop in and see them today. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. Happy anniversary to you and your beautiful bride.
Well, thank you, and I know she says thank you also. She's sitting in the front room probably right now, grinning like a Cheshire cat.
Well, I'll bet she is. That's all right. She's always beautiful when she's grinning.
Well, yeah, but boy, when the other side of that personality comes out, woo, baby.
Oh, no, it never is that way. I know her. She don't get mad.
Fred, just keep on believing in fairy tales.
Hey, we missed out to Decmo, too.
Well, I miss going, but, you know, it was at a time I was on the air, my friend.
Well, I know that. I knew that.
Yeah. And your lovely daughter...
She called you.
Yes, your lovely daughter called me, and I told her I would be on the air, but I said if it works out so that it's on a Friday in the future, I will be there. You can bet on it. And thank her for me again.
Boss was there. He's a new member of our post.
Uh-huh.
Our Legion post.
Uh-huh.
He was there sitting by me.
Well, I'll tell you what, it was an honor to be there a year ago, and always an honor to have your friendship. So thank you, Fred, and you and your bride have a good day yourself, okay?
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
I'll stop by one of these days with that buck for you, too.
I'll look forward to it. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, buddy. Thanks so much. There is a very, very nice man right there. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I just want to add, if I can for a moment, please, my thoughts on yesterday's Veterans Day show. Every person that I had on the air yesterday had the same edge. I thought about this morning, and what word would best befit every single person that I had on my program yesterday as a guest. And I think they had the same edge. I thought about it, and every single one had that same look in their eye. And they had that something in their voice that said, don't mess with my country or my flag. And yesterday, my hero, Russell Smith, was on the program with everyone, and the tears that streamed down his face when he talked about his love for America and the love for his flag, and when he said, don't you ever take my flag. I really had a hard time with that, and the tears flowed. There was a man that is a hero to this great country, the United States of America. They're all heroes. 3 times he won the Purple Heart. And he sat here yesterday with our other friends that were on the program. We had, of course, prior to them, Alex Lissau, retired Marine, his grandson Alex that wants to become a Marine. We had, of course, Ken Mort, National Guard, Sergeant Michael Greenwell and his lovely wife, Georgia, that 2 times on 2 different occasions was in the Army and the Air Force. And they all had that same edge. Don't mess with my country or my flag, along with Mr. Russell Smith. God bless all of them, and I mean that. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Don't forget, Ramsey Heating and Electric offering rebates, love that word, on qualified Lennox home comfort systems. Whether it's a gas furnace, a heat pump, you and your family will enjoy the comfort. Call 678-0459 and learn how Ramsey Heating and Electric can save you money. 678-0459 at Ramsey's. They sell warm winters and cool summers. All right, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I'm not going to mention the man's name because he's a very, very dear friend of mine, and I'm not going to mention his name without his permission. But I received an email yesterday from a gentleman that has been a dear friend of mine for now quite a few years. And basically the email was, I'm ready to fight with you, Zeb, and I'm ready to help protect this country, but what do we do? He said, I vote, I pray, and I call. And I sat back when I read this email and I thought, I get on the radio every day. And I talk about how America is losing its value system, and it is. I talk about the problems that we have with this administration and the denouncing of the values of America, and they are. I talk about the people that are more concerned about their egos than they are serving their constituents, and they do. And I don't know what else to do. And this man is ready to step up like I am and just basically say, we've had enough. And it's time for the government to clean up their act. I really don't care. And I thought long and hard about this last night, watching the news and writing down notes about this program and talking about various subjects this morning, whether it's the absolutely declining numbers of Obama and his administration, or whether it's Chris Christie throwing his hat in the ring already now for the GOP nomination for president, or whether it's the sickness and pervertedness of Miley Cyrus, a young girl that's absolutely gone amok in the media and basically is nothing more than a cheap tramp. And I sat there and I thought, when I read this email, I vote, I pray, and I call. What else can we do? I don't know. But we've got to do something because the preservation of America and its values has got to stand tall. And with this lack of leadership that we have now, and the lack of representing the people that really care, I don't know. But I'm ready to say that we need to clean house in its entirety and get rid of every single one of them and issue a warning to the new people that might take over those respective jobs. You're only going to get one chance. If you blow it the first time, Mr. or ma'am, don't let the door hit you on the way out. Let's not forget our friends Travelube Supply, 1050 West, 203 South, Hayburn at Jim McCall's farm, and they're having a closeout if you know about the Olympia tools. And they've got the pink Bubba ropes. Jim has not yet sent me a picture of him holding a pink Bubba rope, but I anticipate that it'll be coming any day. They also have a bunch of plowshares in stock, and they're going to let them go at cost. And they've got all your oils, and they've got the ability to clean your air filters and save you a bunch of money. So please contact Travelube Supply, 1050 West, 203 South of Hayburn, 438-8730. They deliver the goods. Travelube Supply. Right now I'm going to take time for the Capital Press Ag Minute, and it's brought to you by Pacific Steel and Recycling with 2 locations, 320 West Main in Burley and 1987 Highland Avenue in Twin Falls. Here is the Ag Minute.
Today's Ag Minute brought to you by the Capital Press, the West Ag Weekly.
University of Idaho officials encourage new small farmers and ranchers to sign up early for an online course offered in January. The 35 slots filled quickly for UI's 8-week Sustainable Small Farming and Ranching course offered online from November 12th through January 21st. Course instructor Cinda Williams recommends interested participants enroll early in the next online course, Planning for Profit, which starts January 28th. The online courses also include weekly webinars taught by Williams, university specialists, and local small farms and ranchers. The courses are under the umbrella of Cultivating a Successful Small Farm Education Program involving UI, Washington State University, and the nonprofit group Rural Roots.
For more agriculture news and information, turn to the West's Ag Weekly, the Capital Press, and capitalpress.com.
Thank you very much. Pacific Steel and Recycling, 2 locations, Burley and Twin Falls, and they want to remind you that they're having a canned food drive in the month of November. If you bring in 2 cans of food, you'll receive 10 cents more per pound and $20 per ton more for iron and tin. Hey! And all the proceeds go to the Helping Hands. You better believe it. Pacific Steel and Recycling, 320 West Main in Burley and 1987 Highland Avenue East in Twin Falls. Really nice people. All right, really nice people out in the audience. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, and happy anniversary to you both.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
And how are you this morning?
We're going to have a real nice day. And
yeah, we're going to play hooky today. Normally we get up every morning at 3:45, and Deanne helps me with all the stuff that I've got to organize for the program, and then, of course, she's involved in helping me with the business the rest of the day. Not today. We are going to boogie after the program, and we're not to be found. We're going to be AWOL, away without leave.
Well, very good, and you just have a wonderful, wonderful time.
I will, and thank you very much for your kindness. We always appreciate it.
Uh-huh.
God bless you, Lorna. Thank you so much.
And God bless you also.
Thank you very much. Boy, there's a lot of nice people out there, and I appreciate that. This is so unbelievable. I got to get Gina involved in this one because she's not going to believe this. She's going to say, "What? What? You're kidding me." That's exactly what she's going to say.
You think so?
Did you hear what Target stores did? Okay. They hired a former lady CIA agent to study and learn what kids want or don't want for Christmas, and she's also going to provide tips on how to hide their toys.
Okay, what?
I knew you'd do that.
What? Okay, we were all kids once. We know how to hide the toys.
I couldn't believe it. Target stores hired a former CIA lady agent. I mean, they're paying this gal big bucks. I saw her on television. And she looks like a CIA lady. I mean, she's got a scowl like a bulldog. And she has been hired by Target stores to study and learn what kids want or don't want for Christmas gift giving. And she's also going to tell parents how to hide their toys.
Well, if parents really need to know how to hide their toys, all they have to do is call me. I can let them know.
Yeah, there's no. When I was a kid growing up, there wasn't a place in the house. There wasn't a place in the garage. There wasn't a place in the barn. There wasn't a place on the property that my sister and I didn't know where to go peek.
Amen.
I mean, there was no surprises. We were the best actors. We should have won an Academy Award on Christmas morning going, oh, why, I'm shocked.
Like, I'm so happy that you got me this. Yes, I know, I did the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, I remember one year they gave us those bubble ball guns, where you stick the balls in the gun and then pop them out, those kind of a pop bubble ball guns. And we knew we had them back before Thanksgiving, and we were even going to take them out of the boxes and use them on one afternoon.
But you didn't?
No, Christmas morning come along, and I went, thank you, just what I wanted. And I thought, for Pete's sakes, it's about time. I wanted to play with these a month ago.
Because honestly, kids are so impatient, and they have to snoop. And I don't care who you are. We all peek at the presents.
There is no place sacred. There is no place sacred. You can't hide them
in the duct vents of your house, or you're keeping them at somebody else's house, or your workplace where your kids never go.
Yeah.
We're going to find the toys.
Now, my dad tried one year. I don't know why he got this idea, because how can you hide gifts from a kid? We're the professionals at finding things like this. For some reason, my dad and mother thought they would hide the gifts in my dad's horse trailer. Oh, contraire, sweet maiden living at the station. We found those dudes and opened up every one of them to the point where we had to reseal them with a whole roll of Scotch tape. But we knew the whole thing a month before Christmas.
I can so see you doing that too. I got pretty good at the whole picking at the presents, and there was a system. I mean, because you had to gently, like, pull at the tape.
Oh, yeah.
And hopefully they fix the tape in a spot where you could, like, gently pull it apart and not rip the paper, and then gently unfold it so you could peek and see what it was, and then wrap it back up. And
But there's a secret to being a kid and act like it was an accident. Here's what you do, and this is a message to all the kids out there. I hope they're not listening.
Yes.
But always pick a package up with your name on it, and if you're going to, like, rearrange the packages under the tree, always pick them up by the end where the Scotch tape is, and always grab them towards the end so that the weight of the package pulls the paper away, and then you go, oh, I'm so sorry, here, I'll wrap it back up.
Exactly. I don't know how many times, where you rip the paper just a little bit. Oh, and another key thing, never, ever pick up the package by the bow.
Oh, no.
Ever.
No.
I mean, and you can kind of jiggle it around, see if it's just, like, full of paper or styrofoam, if there's actually something in it. Because I've gotten the gifts where it's a box inside of a box inside of a box. I've gotten those before, too. But, there's certain protocols you have to go through when you're a kid. And you learn all of this, through trial and error on how to successfully and stealthily open your Christmas presents.
And, there was one year, way back when I was a little boy, and it was when John Wayne came out with the movie The Alamo. Remember that movie?
Yes, I do.
And they had these Alamo sets, with all the Mexican soldiers and the guys that defended the Texans that defended the Alamo, and all their horses and all their cannons and everything. It was really quite a deal. And so I had seen this thing at the department store, and I thought, oh man, I got to have an Alamo set. And so I knew how big the box was and everything. So my parents get this, and they put it under the tree, see? And I know exactly what this dude is because, occasionally I'd walk by and just happen to kick it, and you'd hear the rattle of all the little cannons and the people and everything in there. And, I opened the thing up, and I had not opened up all the gifts so you could see what it was yet. And I looked at my mom and dad, and I says, thank you for the Alamo set. And my mom and dad looked at each other and looked at me, and they said, how did you know? Well, I'm a kid, for Pete's sakes. I knew about this a month and a half ago.
Come on, Mom. I measured the box, and then I went to the store, and I measured their box.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same.
Kids are smart. They know what you're getting them, parents. You might as well leave them unwrapped under the tree and say, there they are. Go get them.
I've done that once.
Yeah.
It's like it's like midnight 30 on Christmas Eve, and I'm pooped, and it's like, okay, I'm going to just wrap it in a bag, throw it in a box, tape it together, and there you go. There you go.
Well, I'm not very good at being the dad that needs to put these toys together, You know, because you've talked to Deanne, and you know that with a wrench and a screwdriver, I'm a serial killer.
That was Deanne's job.
And I remember one year we got these bikes for Jake and Toby, and for some stupid reason, I decided to get them and save money and put them together myself. And Christmas morning, there they sat with two wheels and the rest of the frame laying on the floor and a whole bunch of extra different screws and nuts and bolts and everything. And finally, my father-in-law, when he came over for Christmas dinner that day, he had to finish assembling them. I don't like that kind of stuff.
Couldn't finish that, huh?
Yeah.
All right, well, let the professional take over.
Yeah, I got to pay some bills, and then calls will be welcome. Don't forget, send me a short paragraph about what Thanksgiving means to you, and you can win a turkey. Yes, sirree, Bobby. We're going to be giving away about 4 turkeys this year. Zeb at the Ranch, and, of course, Smith's Food King, Ramsey Heating and Electric, and Valleywide Home and Ranch are helping us supply your turkeys for fun. For Thanksgiving, you bet, send those paragraphs to Zeb at the Ranch at hotmail.com. Get them to me today. We've got quite a few in already, but send some more. Lots of them. Zeb at the Ranch at hotmail.com. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning. Do you know how to cure that where they find out or they think they know what they got for Christmas? I did that one year, and my son knew what he had, so I unwrapped it, put a bunch of stuff in it, and wrapped it back up, and needless to say, there's hell to pay, but it all come out.
You are, on behalf of Parents Anonymous, a very evil person.
That was good, though. It's good.
Also, Mr. Bell, I would like everybody to give their prayers to the Philippines. My daughter-in-law has lost part of her family over there, and that's what they've heard from.
Oh, Oh, Lord. That is
a lot of prayers on that one.
Absolutely. That's such a tragedy over there as to what happened to those people, and I know another storm system is brewing in that same area. Absolutely. Our prayers are with those people. God bless you for your thoughts on this morning, George. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
God bless. Thank you. Absolutely a tragedy over there in the Philippines, and we wish them the very best. No, it's not time yet for Michael Rogers. We'll wait a few minutes. By the way, did you see the numbers on President Obama yesterday? You talk about a plane going down to Mother Earth or a rock in a bucket going to the bottom of the bucket. This man has tanked. He is right now, I'll just give you a couple of issues. Less than 31% of America believes in his economic policies. Less than 31. And only 32% agree with his immigration reform. I mean, this absolutely, he's going down like a broken cable on an elevator shaft. And I heard a person this morning on the news say the anticipatory type percentages on various subjects, whether it's immigration, whether it's the economy, or whether it's Obamacare, some people are saying he's going to drop into the 20 percentile range in the very near future. This man's administration and his presidency are a wreck. 436-2244-1866-927-4587. Give us a call. Love to think about anything you've got to talk about, so give us a call right now, please. Let's see. What else have I got here? I talked a little bit ago about Miley Cyrus. And Gina just turned her microphone on. I can hear you.
It's been on.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't hear you breathing for a while, and I was going to call for medics. But have you seen how trashy, and that's the only word I can describe it, how trashy and absolutely just, I think, terribly insolent against what is proper and just. Miley Cyrus is disgusting.
Well, yes. I think that she has been wooed by the glam and fame of Hollywood. I think that her producers and her managers are not really managing her. They're not helping her build a healthy lifestyle. Her dad is partly to blame on this. I mean, we could point fingers and blah 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 blah.
Well, dad and mother. Let's not minimize it.
You know what? She's 20 years old now. She's out there. She's feeling her oats. I am woman. Hear me roar. Blah blah blah. Look at me. And that's what she's going through, and hopefully she will be able to get herself reined back in before she gets into.
She was, I thought, a young lady. Caller, don't go away. We'll be right with you, I promise. I thought she was a young lady when she had that television show produced by the Disney Corporation called Hannah Montana. I thought she was, at that time, a fairly attractive girl with not great talent, but minimal talent to get her by in show business. But she's not that great a singer, and now she's gone the cheap tramp way. And standing up at this awards ceremony over in Europe and pulling out a joint and smoking marijuana right on stage, this girl needs help.
Well, and it harkens back to the day of a lot of teen stars. Britney Spears went through the same thing. Yeah. Countless other teen stars, when they started as a kid and now they're getting to adulthood, and it's like it's their act of rebellion, and we've seen it so many times. Hopefully she can pull herself out, because there were a lot of young kids who really, really looked up to her, and now it's like, oh, please.
Yeah, I know a lot of parents that I've heard not only in this local area, but also on a national level, that are just absolutely telling the kids, no, you can't go to her concerts. You cannot have her records in our home. We don't want anything to do with her. She is turning into a cheap tramp. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. I used to believe that Jimmy Carter was by far the worst president we ever had. I believe that Obama is going to replace him.
Oh, I think he already has. And, I have a lot of animosity against Jimmy Carter. It's not animosity. It's basically pure hatred for what his administration did during the grain embargo. I was in the grain business at that time, and it cost me almost everything I had. And I have no use for Jimmy Carter, never have, never will. But this president, with his total lack of response for the American public, the American Constitution, and its value system, he is trying to turn into a dictator, and unfortunately, in many respects, he is succeeding.
I agree with you wholeheartedly, Zeb. I'm looking forward to Dr. History, though.
Hey, by the way, I want you to know something, and I mean this. Your birthday was this last Sunday, and due to the fact that yesterday was a holiday, I promise you're getting a birthday card, but it's going to be a little late. The pony on the Pony Express is still in the corral.
Well, Zeb, I no longer have birthdays. I have anniversaries of my 39th year of existence. And consequently, I just celebrated the 38th anniversary of my 39th existence.
You got me confused on that one, but anyway, I hope you had a good birthday. Carl, God bless you, man. Thanks much.
I did. Thank you very much.
All right, buddy. Thank you. It's time for a weather update with MichaelRogersWeather.com, and our weather update this hour is brought to you by my friends at Qualities Electronics. I'm going to be going in there later on today. Yep, guess what I'm going to get? Come closer. I'm going to be getting a bigger screen TV. Yes, I am. Because mine's so small I can't see the scores during the football game. Qualities Electronics, 1730 Kimberly Road in Twin Falls. They've got lots and lots and lots of TVs in stock, and they've got just what you're looking for. Increased factory instant rebates now on Sony and Samsung during their anniversary sale at Qualities Electronics, 1730 Kimberly Road in Twin Falls. Here's Michael with the weather.
Hey everybody, Michael Rogers from MichaelRogersWeather.com. Not a bad day in the neighborhood. 68 for the high, 45 for the overnight low. You'll see a lot of sun, and you're also going to see a lot of clouds. 61 for the high tomorrow, 50 for Thursday, but otherwise, not a bad week for fall in November. And as you Valley enjoyed the day, enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
Thank you, Michael. Brought to you by Qualities Electronics, 1730 Kimberly Road in Twin Falls. You stop in and see them today. I'll probably run into you. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want you to think about this for a minute, please. Think about now in the United States, and I was listening to a mother talk about this on television 2 days ago, and she was on during one of the noon hour TV news programs. Think about this. Right now in the United States, we are awarding and rewarding mediocrity. We are. I mean, kids go playing a game and all the people, the adults, hand them a blue ribbon. They hand them a blue ribbon. That's right. For doing and achieving nothing. And the liberal loons attack those that excel and achieve. I just don't understand this. Giving everybody a blue ribbon and the not keeping score mentality is absolutely destroying the values of this country. You know, it's a real world out there. And there's still, even with bad political leadership, let me repeat that again, it felt good. Even with really bad political leadership, you can still jump out of the box in this country, reach for the stars, and achieve something that you want to do. Yes, you can. You can be a success. You can figure out ways to get the education and the knowledge so that you can achieve. And there's nothing wrong with achievement. Don't let liberalism, in its sickest form, its perverted nature, stop you and stymie you. You don't have to be like one of the herd that gets a blue ribbon. Oh, great, Johnny, you ran up and down the field. Here, you're a winner. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And let's not keep score. Everybody's going to be a champion. Sick and disgusting. There's still opportunities in this country. And you can still achieve and be the best you possibly can be. And hopefully we'll change this thing. We all got to fight for it. Anytime you hear of somebody say, well, let's not keep score, or let's give everybody a blue ribbon, or everybody gets a trophy, tell them how sick and perverted that really is, because life isn't like that. Life isn't like that. And all of a sudden, somebody later on, 10, 15 years later, is going to come up and slap them right in the face with reality. And they're going to go, holy buckets, I wished I'd have started realizing this when I was a child. Calls are welcome. Give me a jingle, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. We made a statement last week on this program when Gina and I were visiting back and forth about, what fun it would be to have a truck and trailer and haul everybody around in a Christmas chorale singing. Well, it is coming to fruition. Yes, it is. I just yesterday lined up the transportation vehicle for our Christmas chorale, led by our great conductor, Mr. Keith Ramsey, and everything is going to take place on December the 19th. That's a Thursday night. December the 19th, and I'm going to give you all the full details in the next couple of weeks because it's going to be a happening. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. I was watching a talk show the other night, and this one guy was on, and they was talking about his two daughters. He's in the TV and movie and that there, and he's
speak up, Doug. I can't hardly hear you. Talk louder.
He's saying his two daughters, they don't have cell phones. They don't, have the everything all the other kids have. He says, I'm not here to be their best friend. I'm here to raise them for a life that is unfair.
Amen. Amen. God bless that dad.
I know it. It was funny the way he was talking about it, and he's a comedian, I think, too, and he also does some stand-up comedy about that.
Well, let me ask you a question.
To be their best friend.
Let me ask you a question. How old are you right now?
61.
Now, I would imagine we're of the same generation. My mom and dad, I remember implicitly, especially my mother, was always saying, reach for the stars, go get it. You can achieve anything you want to do if you have the right attitude. Go, go, go. And that attitude was really prevalent back when we were kids. What happened, Doug?
We wanted better for our kids, so we didn't push them as hard as our parents did us. And then the other parents done the same for their kids. They didn't push them as hard. So now we're getting what we deserve.
But this
we did not set the values as high as our parents did for our kids. A lot of them did.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of them that tried to make it easier on their kids, and by doing so, they didn't install the proper values and the Christian attitude.
But you know as well as I do, and there's many, many more people that believe in what you and I believe than there is on the liberal loon side, that by giving kids all this praise and heaping these awards on them and not keeping score and saying, you're all winners, all we're doing is dumbing them down into a band of sheep.
Exactly. And that's the agenda of how you take over a nation.
It's a Dr. Spockish attitude.
The health care and the children.
Yeah. Can we turn it around, though? That's my question. I've seen this thing go so far to where even at your fairs and others, everybody gets a ribbon. I don't believe in spending the money on all the ribbons. What good is a white ribbon just showing that you were one of the worst in the class?
Well, if they'd have done that, I'd have had a lot of white ribbons, Zeb. I wasn't the smartest kid in the class, but I've done very well for myself. And everything I've done with my dad helping me by guiding me the right direction and installing the values of you work hard, you can succeed.
But you see, when these kids get into college, if they go to college, or they really have the world open the door for them and say, here it is, kid, have at it, they're going to expect handouts. They're going to expect gratuities. They're going to expect to still be treated as number one when they're nothing. They're a zero in real life because they haven't prepared. They haven't had somebody slap them down during life and say, listen, you got to work for this. I'm not just going to give it to you. And this is the problem today. These kids are so ill-prepared because they've never really had anybody tell them no.
Exactly. That's the first word you should teach your child when they're growing up, the definition of no.
Well,
and that's what I tried to do. Just a quick little story. I know you're running short. I raised a stepson, good kid, and we had our differences when he got old enough. You know how boys are when they think they're smarter than their dad.
Oh, I've been there.
But we went through a tough time, and just the other day, his girlfriend sent me a message and says, "Thank you for raising him the way you did, so he can be a good stepfather to my children.
Oh, that's great. That is great. You know what I feel we ought to do after this last 5 minutes on the air with you? I think I'll start a new segment. Instead of Dr. Phil, I'll call it Dr. Zebulon.
Well, we'll try it.
All right. God bless you, man. Have a good day. Thanks.
You too. Zeb.
All right.
Bye.
Don't forget, wintertime driving, no sweat. No worries, mate. You just stop in to your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, and they'll take care of you. They've got all your winter traction tires. They've got all the studded tires. They've got everything for your safe wintertime driving. Yes, all the tires. You stop in and check it out today at all 7 locations of your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. They've got the brake service. Oh, absolutely the best in brake service, shocks and struts, front end alignments, the best in batteries, the best in tire chains, everything, and the best of service. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, John on Pole Line in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland and Burley, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Real quick, caller, good morning, you're on the air.
Zeb, there are now youth leagues that their games are called Silent Saturdays, and parents are not allowed to make a peep. They're not allowed to cheer. They're not allowed to anything. And if they cheer, they are escorted out by law enforcement.
That is pathetic. There's so many different words I could use, but, you know, I just, what kind of a society are we? Really, what kind of a society are they? And in fairness, many parents, and I was one of the bad parents, too, for a while, of lipping off to the officials and things like that, and I'm not proud of that. But I think that there has to be a rejuvenation of parents supporting kids and team effort. You can't learn anything by leaving parents in the abstract, taking them out of the equation. You've got to have it be a family situation. This is ridiculous.
They would have to super glue my lips shut.
But, hey, that sounds awful painful.
I don't care. They would have to. And haul me off.
Well, you and I both. And same way with my grandsons or anything else. Don't tell me I can't cheer. Don't tell me I can't say, way to go, 42, because I'll guarantee you they'll never shut me up either.
Good for you.
God bless you and have a good day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Oh, America, let's bring it back. Everybody remember the Saturday Evening Post magazine? The covers, Norman Rockwell covers? That is where I got the slogan for this program. The way things were are the way things ought to be. I'll be back in 6. Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, and great wintertime driving. You better believe it. I just got a message on my phone, and they don't expect me to call back and text back because I don't know how. Anyway, thank you very much to the Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, along with some of our great advertisers, and they are, of course, Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley, and our friends at Western Way Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Way Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Way Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Way Services.
Oh, you better believe it. These folks are really good people, and they can take care of all your garbage. It's gone. It's out of there. Get on the trash collection route service. We've been very, very happy here at Zeb at the Ranch for years with Western Way Services. Always at your disposal. Call, get on the route service today. You'll be very much impressed. They also have the dumpsters in various sizes. They can just kind of plunk one down over at your place. You fill it up, call them, they'll come get it. Better believe it. Western Way Services, 734-6969. Serving you. And also talking about service to you and your family, that brings to mind some dear friends that have been on this program for a long, long time, and that's Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert. Joel Heward, and he is the owner and manager, and along with his staff, always upholding the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. They want to serve you as you would like to be served. And they absolutely know that when there's the passing of a loved one, it's a very, very critical time, and there's so much to get done in such a little space of time. Let them help, and they will. Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert, 436-5636. Ladies and gentlemen, we haven't had this lady on for quite some time on our program, and she's been one of my favorites for information regarding politics. And she's also, as I've said many, many times in the past, a really good dancer. That's her main avocation besides working on the radio and giving out tidbits about information and politics. Julia Seymour, how are you this morning?
I'm doing well, Zeb. It's a pleasure to speak with you again.
Is there any truth to the fact that you're going to be opening up Seymour Dance Studios all across the East Coast?
No, I'm afraid that's a vicious rumor.
Oh, well, I'll tell you something else that's a vicious rumor, Julia, but it's coming true. Obamacare is just crucifying the rest of America. I had no idea it would be this bad after the inception of the product on October 1st. Did you?
Well, I think a lot of us conservatives who saw that the way this bill was passed into law and the fact that people didn't even know what would be in it until after it was passed, that we were going to be in for a world of hurt. I'm not sure we saw it going quite the way it has been.
Now, when you say you're not sure we're going to see it this way, and you're not sure that the outcome that we're seeing now you expected, but there seems to be so much protection. I'll use that word, protection for the Obama administration through the news media, whether it's NBC, CBS, ABC, it doesn't make any difference. And like the cheat sheet that I was sent said that you wanted to talk about how the media waited until after the shutdown before they started pointing out how flawed Obamacare really is. Why did they do that?
Well, we did an analysis looking at the 15 days of the government shutdown and how they covered it versus the 15 days after the Republicans gave in and the government shutdown ended. And we found that the networks, the evening shows, spent much less time discussing problems with Obamacare during that earlier period, the 15 days of the government shutdown versus the 15 days after. In fact, they spent more than 4 times as much time in that later period. And the problem with this is that the shutdown had a lot to do with Obamacare. It was based on Republican opposition to this law, to the implementation of it, and yet it got only a little bit more than 1 minute of coverage on average for the combined networks each night of those first 15 days.
You look at the media every day. You study the media every day. Are they still, right now today, on this 11, 12, 13, are they still as, let's say, in bed with Obama as they used to be? I see some tightening of the screws, if you will, to the point where maybe some of the big broadcasters and journalists are saying, maybe we were duped a little bit by this administration.
Well, they are certainly covering problems much more now, and that's good. The fact that they're talking about problems is good. It's something that they should have been doing all along. And so our main criticism is that they weren't talking about it soon enough. But they're still, in some cases, kind of spinning for him. For example, Chuck Todd on Today it said that the president had, he has to go out there and make a promise that he had no control to keep, right? Making that promise, it was an impossible to keep promise. So basically, he didn't lie. He just made a promise that turned out to be impossible to keep. That sort of thing. So they could be doing a better job than they're doing, but at least they're covering it now.
Let me ask you a question, Julia. When you study these people in the media, and you study what's being asked or what's not being asked, and correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't it NBC's Chuck Todd that had the interview with Obama in the apology, etc.?
Yes,
okay.
he did.
Right there.
NBC News got that apology, although I would argue Obama's apology wasn't really an apology. It was the kind of apology you give when you've been caught in a lie.
Absolutely.
And you're not really sorry.
Absolutely, and this is where I wanted to go with this. I watched that interview, and I thought it was nothing more than just vanilla ice cream. I thought it was one of the worst interviews I've ever seen and or heard anywhere, because he had a chance right there, in a very professional way, to go for the jugular and ask about the apology and the sincerity or the lack of the sorry in the apology. apology and pin Obama down as to what he meant. There were 5 areas of answers that Obama gave that needed to be pursued and opened up for the American public, and Chuck Todd did a terrible job.
I don't disagree with that at all. I think he could have been a lot better, and the fact that in his interview with Obama that was broadcast on Nightly News, I believe, they didn't even mention that NBC News had done the investigation that found that the administration knew since the summer of 2010 that millions of Americans could lose their insurance.
Julia,
let me done the investigation, and yet Chuck Todd doesn't say it. But we found the proof that you already knew this.
Yeah.
How can you say, what do you have to say for yourself? And yet it was not that kind of an interview.
But wouldn't you agree that the apology, the I'm sorry, really wasn't directed in, here's what I would say. Tell me if I'm wrong. If I were the president and this was such a fiasco to the American public, I would look at the camera and say, I am sorry that Obamacare has hurt many people. I am sorry that the implementation of the program has been absolutely despicable. I am so sorry that I've hurt people. I am so sorry that some of their coverages have been canceled. I am sorry. He didn't say that. He came out in a kind of a twisted version of an apology and basically said he was sorry that the program wasn't working the way he had anticipated it.
Right, and he said, quote, I am sorry that they are finding themselves in this situation based on assurances they got from me.
Right.
What kind of a convoluted apology is that? I think the piece that stuck out to me was that he said, obviously we didn't do a good enough job in terms of how we crafted the law. Well, that's an important admission, but the apology could have been much better. And the reporting on the apology could be so much better than it is, too. It's been excused in a lot of ways. Jim Avila on ABC said that some called it a lie because 15 million Americans may, in fact, lose the cheap, underperforming insurance they have now. But the Obama administration says, hold on, even if this was oversold, the underinsured will be better off under Obamacare getting better insurance at about the same price. Well, we know it's not going to be the same price, and him excusing the president's claims because people will supposedly be better off by losing their insurance is ridiculous.
When you look at the overall picture of Obamacare, and right now the biggest fiasco is even trying to get on the website, okay? There's only, and correct me if I'm wrong, as of this morning, there are still, in the numbers that are presented and projected, only about 50,000 people that have tried, and they're looking for an anticipatory figure of close to, 7 million? And when you look at these fiasco figures, and you look at the overall Obamacare and what it's done to hurt people and leave them in the lurch. I personally know some people that have had their policies canceled, and they need the cancer treatment, they need the kidney dialysis, they need all this. And right now, Julia, they're in limbo. This has been devastating to many people.
Absolutely, and it isn't just the cancellation of insurance that's hurting people. It's Obamacare's impact on employers and employees as well.
Yes.
Investors Business Daily has done a great job of tracking companies that have had to do layoffs or hours cuts. And I don't have the exact number in front of me, but I believe they've found over 300 specific companies, or even like school districts and government entities like that have had to either lay people off because of Obamacare or cut hours because of it. So they're getting it coming and going. Consumers are really, really hurting because of this law. And you're absolutely right that the enrollment so far, because of the website problems and I assume other problems as well, they're not anywhere near hitting their targets for enrollment. I believe there's a headline on Drudge right now saying that Obamacare enrollment hits 3% of the target.
Let me ask you this.
It's a mess.
Let me ask you this, Julia. And you might think I'm way out in right field, but I'm always the guy that's looking for the dog doo-doo on the new carpet. And here's what I'm thinking, and you can tell me how crazy I am. And I know there are other talk show hosts that are starting to voice the same thing, and I said it a couple days ago on my program. Is this possibly a preordained failure to eventually push, through executive order, a single-payer system?
I don't know. And I wouldn't venture to speculate on that.
It is possible, though, is it?
Well, I have heard from people that if Obamacare fails, single payer may end up being the consequence, but they weren't talking about it in any sort of conspiratorial way.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not going to go there. You're welcome to voice any opinion you want. It's your show. But certainly we see that Obamacare is a huge mess. We see the media still, in some cases not willing to admit that this is a lie.
Yeah.
And that's just crazy that they're not willing to even say that when NBC has proved that it was in fact a lie. And to be fair too, Obamacare is now impacting the media themselves. The MRC did a story a week or two ago about, I think it was CNBC. People were talking about how Obamacare had impacted their premiums, like their company's health insurance.
Yeah.
And their premiums were going up. Dylan Ratigan, who used to be a host on MSNBC, he tweeted the other day very angrily because his insurance policy, his catastrophic policy, is being canceled. And if he wants to keep a policy, it's going to go up from, I think $170 a month to $600 a month.
Oh, my goodness sakes. Wow. Julia...
So there's a lot of people who would typically be promoters of Obama, who work in the media sphere, who are now seeing the consequences of this legislation.
Absolutely. We have a caller with a question, but I want you to give me a short answer on this. Yesterday I was watching The Five on Fox News, and I can't remember the Democratic spokesperson's name, a young lady. I think her first name is Julie. You probably know her, and I can't think of her name, but I was absolutely taken aback as to how she's changed her attitude as a Democratic spokesperson against Obama, against Obamacare, and she's totally disgusted with the way this thing has been implemented and thrown at the American public.
Yeah. I did not see that, and I'm not exactly sure who you're talking about, but I think as even liberals begin to feel what this does, what this legislation does to them personally, stories like that are going to be out there. Now, whether we hear them or not, it may depend on, where they work and whether they get any airtime.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We have a caller with a question. Go ahead, caller, please.
Yes, I think that this is a very personal thing, and I think that, when they did it, the way they shoved it through and did things they'd never done before to accomplish the task, it has been such a terrible thing. And so when this kind of personal thing that's healthcare, and this has been just destroyed, that the reaction when it doesn't function like it should, and people are feeling very upset, that it will eventually crash and burn, and whether or not we end up with a single payer or somehow or other we can dissolve this thing or not. What do you think will happen ultimately? And I'll hang up. Thanks.
That's a good question. Julie, what happens if all of a sudden this thing crashes and burns? What happens to the people that have lost their coverage? What happens to the companies that have had to fold their tent and go out of business? I mean, there's a lot of people that are going to be left in the dust.
Absolutely. And I really wish I knew that answer, but unfortunately I don't know what's going to happen. If and or when this crashes and burns.
When you look at this president's numbers and you look at his popularity, that is absolutely, for an analogy, dropped like a rock in a bucket of water, and he's down to 31% and even less in some other categories, whether it's the economics or whether it's the Obamacare or whatever. This is a losing presidency. It's about high time the media started focusing on that.
Well, yes, it is time that the media started holding the White House accountable for its policies and actually critically examining them. we're starting to see that. But it took a huge, huge mess for them to start covering it. I mean, there were so many messes and scandals and problems before this on other subjects that they didn't cover or waited very long to cover or minimally covered. They have given the president so much room, and very, very uncritically examined him for much of his presidency.
Yeah.
That yes, this is long overdue, but they need to take it a step further because in a lot of cases they're still spinning for him.
Will there be a day of reckoning on this and everything else that this man has done with his executive orders superseding Congress? I mean, he's tried to do various things on climate control. He's tried to do things with gun control. He's gone around Congress. He's made a lot of enemies. He's made enemies all over the world. I think that his heritage when he leaves office is going to be very bleak and very dark because this man has done a lot to burn bridges for America's future and progress. Would you agree or disagree?
I think it's possible his legacy will be tarnished by all of that. But the problem is that very liberal academics tend to control the way history is spun as well.
That's true.
And so you don't always get the full story of that legacy and what it is. And I think people on both sides are going to continue to see it very differently. But I do think as far as consequences, I know that there are Democratic senators who are up for re-election next year who are afraid this is going to cost them politically. And that remains to be seen.
Yeah.
I think that's a possibility, but we won't know until next year.
When you look at going into 2014, though, I mean, you can't spin this. I don't see how the newspapers and the radio and the TVs and the networks can spin this in a positive fashion. If this thing goes past November 30th, into December, into 2014 as a negative where people can't get on, and if people do eventually get on and the costs are so skyrocketing they can't afford it, and or if they have a claim they can't figure out how to get claims back on their insurance coverage, this could be an albatross that's going to sink the Democratic Party right to the bottom of the ocean.
Possibly. That's definitely a possibility.
You know, Julia, I hate to run, but I got to take a break and go to another segment, but you're always welcome back on this program, and God's blessings for you coming back, and enjoy your dancing career. Keep us informed.
Will do.
All right, God bless. Have a good day. Thank you. With the Media Research Center, Julia Seymour back in Washington, D.C. Thank you very much for her comments. I don't see any positives in this at all. I don't see how you can possibly spin. I'm going to just throw this comment in real quick, folks. Debbie Wasserman Schultz, a Democratic spokesperson, how she can get away with saying the most profoundly stupid statements I've ever heard in my life, and she keeps coming out and being the attack dog for the Democrats against the Republicans and blaming the Republicans and blaming the media for Obamacare not working. Now, come on, just stop for a second and think. Who designed the website? Who was involved in putting Obamacare together? Who did this? Who did that? It's all been a left-wing nut proposal on Obamacare. And now that it's falling down in the street and it can't get up, they blame the Republicans and they blame the media. The media has been their best friend. And for Debbie Wasserman Schultz to say something so absolutely uneducated, which from her is understandable, it's pathetic. Ladies and gentlemen, don't forget Cameron and Siemens Insurance. Absolutely the best. And when you think about life insurance, you think about health insurance, you think about retirement planning, you think about employee benefits, yep, you better think about Cameron and Siemens Insurance. I know these people. I have policies with these people. I know the work that they can do. I know the service they provide. They are dedicated and responsive to your needs. So please give them a call today, 436-4424. 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Caller, I'll be right with you. Don't go away. Also want to remind you about a great big customer appreciation sale. It's one day only, and it's this week on Thursday, November 14th from 4 to 8 p.m. at Lee's Furniture, Floors and More. Oh, man, you better check this out. Buy a sofa at $799 and get a love seat free. That's right. And check this out. Buy a recliner at $499 and get one free. That's right. Free financing for 15 months on approved credit. You better stop in this Thursday. One big day. Customer appreciation sale, Thursday, November 14th, 4 to 8 p.m. at Lee's Furniture, Floors and More at 459 Overland in Burley. Caller, go ahead. Good morning.
Hi, Zeb. This is kind of along the same lines of what you were talking about a little earlier. I got a forward this morning that says we're all going to be required to buy a boat. And I haven't had time to check this out, but of all of the frivolous things I've heard of, this about wins the prize. And I hope this is incorrect, but that's what it says. So get ready to buy a boat.
Well, I think
everything else says it's something that Congress has passed.
I am
swallow, but anyway.
Paul, I'm very concerned right now that executive orders that Obama has just circumvented Congress. You know he's done this on numerous occasions with gun control and the ammunition and also Obamacare and climate change. This man, as far as I am concerned, and this is my own personal opinion, you can argue with me or not, is the closest thing to a one-man rule, one dictatorship that we've ever had in this country, and it scares me to death. I guess he's gone.
I don't know how long we're going to let this continue. It seems like our people are absolutely just totally incompetent, or they seem to just give the man a pass on everything and prop him up. How long are these people going to be spineless and gutless and not do something about this?
I agree. We're going to be talking more about this in just a little bit this morning, so stay tuned. But right now I've got a really interesting guest that I know you, Paul, will really enjoy, and he's from back on the East Coast, and I'm going to get right to him in just a second. Thank you for your call. I do appreciate it. Before I take my next call, I want to remind everybody about Skow's CarQuest and Auto and Truck Parts Center. Skow's Incorporated, Rupert, Hayburn, and Burley. Since 1949, every detail matters. Every detail does matter. And don't forget that they've got all the oils for the change of season, for the benefit of your better driving. They've got all the Prestone and Prestone Dex Cool concentrates, your antifreezes. They've got all the wiper blades. They've got the best in service at all three locations, where, as I said, every detail matters. Skow's CarQuest in Rupert on 323 East 8th Street, Highway 25. CarQuest of Burley at 518 Overland. And Skow's Truck Center, I-84, exit 211. Skow's CarQuest centers and truck centers, serving you where every detail matters. Well, I saw this gentleman on television the other night, and I said to myself, holy buckets, I have forgot to call him for a long time and have him on the program, because I value his opinion. And we say good morning to the Vice President of Miller Lawn Construction Company. He might be president by now, I don't know. Brett McMahon, good morning. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
Well, if I was any better, the wrong fat man would be wearing my clothes. I'm just great. Good to have you on the program.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
You looked very professional and very articulate on television the other evening as they were discussing a subject that is near and dear to my heart, and that is the proposals to try to raise the minimum wage at a time when our economy is teetering on the cliff, and they want to start giving burger flippers $10 to $15 an hour. What's going on?
Well, thank you for the compliment, and it just goes to show you can fool some of the people some of the time, I guess, on that. But this whole concept of just, raising the minimum wage statutorily is, it's been a fool's errand since it began, and it continues to be so. I would agree with you that our economy is tenuous. Those of us kind of in the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area actually, sadly, for everybody else, seem to be doing a whole lot better than everybody else. But even here, it's still, you still get that feeling that somebody's pulled the rug out from underneath it at any time. And but this really is, as much as anything, it's a way to provide a nice cushy bonus to organized labor without actually having to do much. Many organized labor collective bargaining agreements have in them a phrase or a clause that says that their wages will rise automatically to be, the minimum wage plus 50 cents or plus $1 an hour as soon as any statute goes into effect, whether it's federal, state, or local. And as soon as the minimum wage rises, their wages increase automatically. So it's very often just used as a way to make organized labor happen.
Brett, when you look at this situation, and I've got a lot of respect for your opinions, you've been on the show many, many times, and you know more about this subject than I do. But when you look at entry-level jobs, possibly now with minimum wage increases of going to 10, and some people are advocating they should go to $15 an hour, the inflation and the job loss is going to be tremendous that this country can't stand. Would you agree and elaborate on that?
Yeah, 100%. As a matter of fact, the Heritage Foundation did really kind of the definitive study, and just frankly looking back at the history of all of the economic studies, and literally since this whole concept has come about, every single time been tested by either economists of the left or the right, and not just tested in theory, but looking back at the statistics, absolutely every single time this is done, entry-level positions are decreased. And what also happens is you get to a point, and you start along the path where you start looking at automation versus manpower. So you get to the point where, we're not going to be doing that by raising the minimum wage by $2 an hour, but it starts along this path where you start to do this trade-off. And those of us, I'm in the construction business, but everybody who, on a farm or whatnot, you make this decision every day about the choice between machinery versus manpower. And that's what happens when you start to kind of inflate these wage rates, and doesn't do anything for the purchasing power of people, because you inflate the wage rate, you inflate the cost, 50% of the cost of pretty much everything you can purchase or procure in any way. 50% of that cost is pretty much labor on almost everything. So you raise the cost of labor, you just raise the price of the product. You haven't increased the purchasing power of the individual.
Absolutely.
That's only done by letting the market dictate, wage rates and things like that, and increasing your own value in the marketplace. That's how you raise your purchasing power, not by having the government decide everybody gets a pay raise. It's asinine, and it's never, ever worked.
Brett, when you look at this situation, and I'm not trying to denigrate anybody or any job that they try to hold down, but what I am thinking is this, that there won't be an incentive. I look at it like this, that you take a kid that's flipping burgers for $10 or $11 at McDonald's, and he might have a pregnant wife at home and expecting their first child, and all of a sudden you start raising that minimum wage to $10 or $15 an hour. There's no incentive to really do better or try to progress. I think it takes away the incentive to try to be better in our society. Am I wrong?
No, I think it's exactly right. These are entry-level jobs. Unfortunately, they're more common today because of the economy that this administration has kind of laid upon us. That the idea, these people are getting more desperate because they're looking at the fact that this might be as well as they're going to be able to do in terms of career and job. But by and large, I think the figure is 1 out of every 100 people earning the minimum wage is sort of on a kind of a full-time basis is actually over the age of 25. The idea that somehow this is these are people trying to support families on this is, by and large not the case. There's always going to be a few, but relatively speaking, it's a very, very small number. These are very much entry-level, often part-time, career starter kind of jobs. At your, proverbial McDonald's and the like. And that's where, that's as best you're going to be able to do. Then, there are other issues afoot there than just, the minimum wage. And paying you more is not going to solve those other problems that people bring to it when they can only earn the minimum wage as an adult. That's a whole different situation.
Let's talk about it from the employer's standpoint for a little bit. You know, I don't care if the employer's got 10 kids working per shift at his burger joint, or if it's someone else in your business or whatever. I mean, sooner or later, you got to look at your whole card. And if you're paying out all this money and not really getting anything in return, not any extra work ethic or anything else, and you're looking at Obamacare and you're looking at the high cost of this, it can just basically push somebody right out of business today.
Sure, because it takes a long time for these prices to be absorbed by the marketplace. And this is kind of one of the things, you know, we always think about this in terms of, you know, fuel surcharges and the like. You know, if you get that on your airline ticket, maybe you have some, you know, recognition of the fact that, oh, yeah, you know, all of a sudden got a crisis in the Middle East and fuel skyrocketed, so the airline wants to charge you an extra $5 for your ticket or whatever it is. But you can't do that in contract work. I mean, you just can't. I can't go to my customers and say, hey, you know what? They just raised the minimum wage, and yeah, we have a price on this contract that's going to last the next 8 months to a year. I need to raise it because they raised the some arbitrary wage rate just got increased, and therefore, you know, puts price on this, or, you know, because it's also my risk to absorb every other price spike along the lines. You know, if it's not the owner's decision to make a change, then they're not responsible for it. That's the way of business. So it takes a long time for somebody like me in the contracting business in particular to, you know, figure out a way to actually build those prices into future contracts, and for the market to be willing to absorb them. In the meantime, you know, and that duration's probably, you know, it's different for every industry, but it's probably 8 months to a year before you'd even be able to begin to accurately reflect those added costs into your contract pricing or your average pricing. And so you're going to be eating that, you know, cost for that period of time, following several years of minuscule margins, if they've even been positive. For several of those years, they weren't. So, you know, it's just a terrible thing to do to any industry at such a tenuous period of time.
When you look at the overall employment structure of this country right now, from the East Coast to the West Coast, and what the edicts of this administration have been and how they're supporting all the different welfare modes, etc., are we really headed towards a part-time working society?
It's an awful shame, but you know, it is. It feels like, you know, we're kind of headed that way until we have, in my opinion, just a big reset. I think we've gotten to this point where, you know, there just isn't as much of this kind of, you know, knowledge-based work stuff to go around. I think, you know, I mean, there isn't as much value put on people who work with their hands for a living relative to everything else, and it is that worries me a great deal. We have begun, actually, I guess, to reinvigorate some manufacturing in the United States, but not on a large enough scale to call it a real resurgence and the like. I'm concerned about, and especially having grown up in a place like Washington, D.C., where I build buildings, but most people here produce paper. You know, and we don't actually manufacture anything in a place like this. It's simply, you know, it's sort of a lawyer's haven here and things like that. That's kind of the native industry here. But across the United States, we've kind of gotten into that situation, and it worries me a great deal. It tends to create very large publicly owned businesses and fewer private sector businesses. Mm-hmm. And what I always try to remind people is the difference in duties between what a publicly owned company CEO has and what somebody like me, who's a private sector CEO, has. Public sector CEO has an obligation to his shareholders first and foremost. The employees are somewhere down the list. Country is even farther down that list. This is just the way the system we have it. So if a government dangles a big, fat, juicy contract in front of him, even though he may personally think it's a terrible idea for the United States, he's actually obliged. I mean, you like to think that they're honorable enough to turn it down, but frankly, he's obliged to take it. Mm-hmm. People in the private sector don't have to do that. it's my money. I can decide what to do with it.
Right.
How I want to do with it. My first obligation is, to my employees and family and the like. And not, I don't have any shareholders. Very different set of rules. So the government is in favor of having more big public sector companies because, frankly, they're much more controllable than your, mom and pop shop like mine. So
Absolutely.
It's a very different situation. It worries me a great deal because there are fewer and fewer people with real stakes in the ground that are going to be willing to push back against the ever-increasing creep of this government.
Absolutely. We have a caller with a question. Go ahead, caller, quickly, please.
Yes, a couple examples of capitalism and socialism or statism. In Detroit, there are 77,000 houses that are abandoned and whole blocks of just literally whole neighborhoods with a few people hanging on here and there to what they thought was the American dream. When the Detroit Fire Department gets a call on a fire, they have to decide if it's something they're going to go put out. They have 32 a day average, and some they don't even put out. Now, this is what happens when you have socialism, a democratically led city council mayor that have literally put Detroit into the dumper to the tune of 18, if I'm not confused, wrong, 15 to 18 billion dollars alone. And then you go to North Dakota where we have natural resources, natural gas and oil, of course, and I know I'm not telling you nothing you don't know. 44,000 jobs. And in North Dakota, if you want to work for Burger King and get paid $15 an hour, you can get a raise in North Dakota to 20, because that's what private sector capitalism will get you, a good job. And the tax refund, the tax money coming out of North Dakota because of so many people employed is astronomical. And this, of course, North Dakota doesn't have any debt. And this is the difference between those two things. And one more point. We have so much oil and gas in this country, and I was recently understood that they have found an aquifer, a lake of oil down in Texas to the tune that is so big that it's bigger than all of the Saudi Arabia's oil at this point. Now, I'll hang up. Thanks for the time.
Thank you, caller. And Brett, after that, please respond.
Yeah, those are perfect examples. That is the market doing what it does best. It's a classic kind of economic example of exploiting your natural resources to their highest and best potential. What our government has made an art out of, frankly, since really maybe Jimmy Carter, although I'm not as familiar with his policies, but Bill Clinton in particular, putting millions, I think, of acres of parkland off limits. This administration has tried everything they can to try and slow this down. The only place that it's effective is where the governors can go ahead and push it, and thankfully we have these now at least still currently 30 Republican governors, about to move that to 29, unfortunately. But these are folks trying to actually make things better for their state. And the example of the wage rates at the fast food joints in the Dakotas is exactly right. Mm-hmm. That's what happens.
Brett, one final thought, and I just happened to think of this while the caller was asking his question. A lot of what we have in America today is a problem with employment and wages, etc. I'm going to blame on education, and here's what I mean. I think we have pushed as a society in the last 25, 30 years, everybody has to go to college. Everybody has the right to go to college. Everybody has the right to go to USC or whatever college, and I don't think so. I think we should have been pushing a lot more for the trade schools to develop people to go out and know how to work, know how to achieve, instead of everybody going to college and ending up flipping a burger at McDonald's. Your thoughts on that?
Couldn't possibly agree more. As a matter of fact, and we've been involved as a company, as individuals, in actually returning a tech school in construction to the D.C. public schools after they were eliminated about 15 years ago. But there are actually tens of thousands of available jobs in the United States for high-end manufacturing and things right now, but they are unfillable because we can't find qualified people to do them. This idea that somehow everyone's going to be an art history major or something like that is just, it's ludicrous. It's not I mean, I personally always enjoy having this discussion, and I've had this discussion face-to-face with guidance counselors at our local public schools who stand there and tell me that my construction career is a dead-end job.
Oh, my.
Thinking, well, I don't want to go out to the parking lot and compare, but I kind of think I'm winning. You know, I mean, just it really is important that we have people who can actually do stuff. You know, not just talk about it and think about it and write nice papers about it, but actually do things. And I am very, very concerned that we have gotten very far afield from that, and it's going to take some real doing to return people to the understanding that, hey, you know, there's it's not just honorable, it might even be better to, you know, be a plumber, you know, pour concrete for a living. It's good stuff. It's worthwhile, it's satisfying, you know, everything about it, and you can make a good living at it.
Absolutely.
You're good at it, just like anything. If you're good at it, you make a real good living at it.
Absolutely. You know, I always enjoy having you on, and it's been a long time, and I wish you the very best, and I know we're about 2 weeks early, but we got time for one more call. One more quick call with a short question. Go ahead, caller, please, quickly.
Good morning. My question is, how come anymore in our schools, our kids are not taught that regardless of what you do, there's always going to need to be someone in a tractor, there's always going to be someone in a factory, there's always going to be someone in an office building. Instead, it's, oh, you got to go to a big college and spend so many years to be a doctor. That's what you have to do. And I try to encourage my kids that what you want to do with your life after school is up to you. Just do your best and you will succeed.
All right, well, we'll have Brett.
Do you feel that's fading away in our school system?
All right, we'll have him respond real quick, and that's what we were just talking about. Brett, one more time, just a short answer, please.
Sure, yeah, I think it has as much to do with the teachers themselves don't have that, you know, face-to-face knowledge with somebody who, you know, did maybe work with their hands for a living. Either their parents didn't, or they don't know anybody who does. We're kind of farther and farther afield from that as we've urbanized as a country, and that's a great concern.
Brett McMahon, you are a dear friend, and like I started to say a moment ago, our best to you and your family and your job, and happy Thanksgiving, and we'll have you back on the air in the next couple of weeks. Thank you so much.
Thank you, my friend. Always enjoy it.
God bless. Thank you so. Very nice man. Really enjoy him. He was on Fox the other night, and I caught him on a segment. They were talking about minimum wage, and I've just always enjoyed having Brett McMahon on our program. Very articulate, very smart, and thank you for the time here this morning. Holy cow, it's time for a weather update. As a matter of fact, it's past time for a weather update, brought to you this hour by the Magic Valley Chalet and Upper Crust. I love this place. I really do. 1367th Street in Heyburn. Oh my goodness, they got all kinds of Christmas baskets starting at just $15.95, and they can customize a basket for you. They've got all the fresh cheese, and they got the beef jerky curd and jalapeno curd cheese. They've got everything over there. And for the holidays, they have pumpkin pie and eggnog and peppermint and chocolate chip ice cream, all kinds of great flavors. I'm starving to death. It sounds great. At Magic Valley Chalet and Upper Crust, 1367th Street in Heyburn. Here now, Michael Rogers weather.
Hey everybody, Michael Rogers from MichaelRogersWeather.com. Not a bad day in the neighborhood. 68 for the high, 45 for the overnight low. You'll see a lot of sun, and you're also going to see a lot of clouds. 61 for the high tomorrow, 50 for Thursday, but otherwise not a bad week for fall in November. And Magic Valley, enjoy the day, enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
Thank you, Michael. Brought to you this hour by the Magic Valley Chalet and the Upper Crust. Great place to go eat at 1367th Street in Heyburn. Thank you much. Hey, by the way, too, don't forget Let's Ride. Yeah, buddy, get your motor running. Let's Ride, Highway 24 between Rupert and Burley. That's where the fun is sold. Oh, boy. Open Tuesdays through Saturdays from 9 to 6, and I'll guarantee you they got all the new snow machines over there. I mean, look at that showroom. You go on in there and just say to yourself, how did they get all these outfits on that showroom floor? It's unbelievable. And they've got all the new ATVs. They've got a great accessory department there for all your gift giving, and the very best in parts and service. It's all there at Let's Ride, where the fun is sold. Highway 24 between Rupert and Burley. You stop over and see those good folks today. Nice people. All right, give us a call. We still have some time. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Again, I want to stress that we're getting some of our Thanksgiving paragraphs in. All I want you to do is write a short paragraph, a real short paragraph about what Thanksgiving means to you. And send it to me, and we're going to have drawings for 4 Thanksgiving turkeys. The first drawing for 2 turkeys will be on November 21st. The second one will be on November 26th. All you have to do is send them to my email address, Zeb at the Ranch, ZEBATTHERANCH, @hotmail.com. Zeb at the Ranch at hotmail.com. And we really want to say thank you to Smith's Food King, along with Zeb at the Ranch, and Ramsey Heating and Electric, and Valleywide Home and Ranch for their helping us with what Thanksgiving means to you. Send those to us, would you please? Appreciate it. Oh, my goodness sakes. Oh, and let's see, what else was I going to tell you? I got that done. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Gina, what did you say you're going to do for Thanksgiving, or did you tell me?
Well, we're going to try and go down to Mesquite.
Oh, that's right, you are. And you got family down there by the golf course or something, you said, right?
Yeah, James has, his parents actually live down in St. George, and then they have, for some reason, Thanksgiving in Mesquite.
You know, what do you like best for Thanksgiving dinner? Are you a traditionalist where it's got to be the turkey and the dressing and the mashed potatoes and the biscuits and all that? I am too.
Yep.
I am too.
I like the traditional Thanksgiving dinner, of course, like you said, the turkey, the stuffing, the mashed potatoes, the homemade gravy.
Oh, yeah.
And then you have to have a pumpkin pie.
Now, there's where I draw the line. I like pumpkin pie, but I'm not crazy about it.
A pecan pan or a pecan pie or a peach pie.
Oh, all of the above.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
See, we always, growing up, we always had a pecan pie and a pumpkin pie.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. We always had. And then you have to have homemade cranberry sauce. I'm a big cranberry sauce lover, and the stuff out of the can is, it's okay, it'll do in a pinch, but I've found this really unique recipe, got it years and years ago, and it's a spicy cranberry sauce, and it's really good.
Now, have you personally done all the cooking for a big table of connoisseurs for Thanksgiving all by yourself?
Yes.
You have?
I have.
That's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work, and you really have to start the day before.
I can't even imagine. When I watch Deanne cooking in the kitchen, I'm amazed as to how you time everything out. Oh, the rolls are done. I got to go get the dressing, and the turkey's about ready to be. I don't know how you do this.
It definitely takes timing, and especially if you're only working in one oven. I walked through a house not that long ago where the kitchen had 2 ovens. I so wanted that kitchen because I would honestly be in the kitchen all day long.
You like to cook.
I really do. I really do love to cook. It's kind of a relaxation thing for me. I'm not very good at breads, but I can make anything else.
Well, listen, I'm sure that I'm speaking on behalf of my lovely bride. Anytime you want to sample the best in banana and zucchini bread,
I'm so over there.
Goober's the girl.
Goober saved me some, and I will be on my way. I'm hungry.
Hey, speaking of food, I just happened to have for our next commercial Perkins Restaurant and Bakery, 800 North Overland in Burley, where they say they'll believe in being best buds with your taste buds. I tell you something, folks, their bakery over there at Perkins is second to none. I mean, all the different pies. Oh, my goodness, what a list of pies. And, of course, all the cookies and all the delicious muffins, like the raspberry and cream mammoth muffins. You're going to love it. And, I mean, the people are so nice, and it's the new home of our Zeb's Lunch Bunch. And our next lunch bunch is going to tie together Thanksgiving and Christmas. We're going to be there on December 5th. So put that on your calendar. It's going to be ripping good, all decorated up, really a lot of fun. Perkins Restaurant and Bakery, 800 North Overland in Burley. I love this place.
So I was just going to ask you about Zeb's Lunch Bunch, so I'll mark that on my calendar, December 5th.
And you had better be there.
I will.
Okay, because you will be...
I'll come in the Miss Santa costume if I can find one.
Great, because I'm going to have Santa Claus there.
Oh, well, Deanne can dress as Mrs. Claus too, right?
Well, yeah, I guess. The Santa Claus I'm getting to dress up as Santa Claus, I don't really want her sitting on his old lap, I'll tell you that.
All right, I'll dress up as Mrs. Claus.
All right. Hey, listen, I've got to take a little break here, and we've got to listen to the news from ABC, and they're going to mess up everything we tried to put together. We'll be back with Dr. History at 10:06. Oh, my. Welcome back. Zeb at the Ranch with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you for the best of wintertime safe driving. You stop in and see them today. Along with some of our great advertisers, Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley. And our friends at Western Way Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service today, 734-6969. By the way, before we go to our guest, I want to remind you that every Thursday at approximately 10:12 in the morning, we have a segment called School Days in Cassia County, and it's brought to you by 2 great sponsors. Thank you so much. A Child's World, 1308 Overland Avenue in Burley, and you can go shop online at A Child's World. Just go to achildsworldinburley.com. All the Cherokee and Dickie scrubs and all the shoes and all the dresses, ladies' dresses, all the infant wear, all the toys, books, arts and crafts, puzzles, and more. Free gift wrapping, layaway. That's the store for you. You better believe it. A Child's World, 1308 Overland Avenue in Burley. And don't forget, too, Ambulatory Surgery Center, 1344 Highland Avenue in Burley. Number to call, 677-8888. Call 677-8888 for doctors that bring their patients to Ambulatory Surgery Center to give them outstanding care and save them money. Absolutely 2 great businesses. Thank you very much. A Child's World and Ambulatory Surgery Center, bringing you School Days in Cassia County. Well, lo and behold, there he stands with his tablet in one hand and his pen and ink in the other, and his great big dark rim glasses peeking on the edge of his nose. Dr. History.
Good morning, Zeb. How you doing?
Well, my friend, I am great. I'm getting excited. Thanksgiving is around the corner, and then Christmas is around the corner, my favorite time of the year.
Oh, yeah, I love it. And we've had a great fall, good football seasons. I mean, it's great.
Well, great football season, except for the Green Bay Packers. They're going through quarterbacks like I change my boots every now and then.
Well, I'm referring to the Declo team. They're moving ahead.
Oh, I know they are. Great squad over there. Nice kids.
Yeah.
Well, what are you going to entice us with today?
Well, speaking of sports, I heard you speaking this morning a little bit about sports. So we're going to talk about Indian athletics.
Yeah, you mentioned this last week, and you really piqued my interest because you said back in the old days the Indians actually had referees and they actually had organized games.
Yes, and I'm going to talk about some sports that are going to resemble lacrosse, football, one called hoop and roll, another one that's called jousting and basketball, another one called swimming and volleyball.
Well, go ahead.
Combined.
All right.
So, but, you know, back in those days, competitive games among the North American Indians was fierce. I mean, the battle, just about like on the battlefield. I mean, the preparation and the enthusiasm. I mean, there was rival tribe things going on, and they could rival anything here like a Burley Minico game or whatever. But there was one game that was called a Netza, and I'm going to go along here and try to describe this a little bit, but this was a tribal sport of the early Cherokees, and it was in North Carolina, and it grew from a religious festival ceremony into a very complex, highly organized sport. Weeks were spent training for these important contests, and what happened was a medicine man, he would take the players to a stream where he would do mystic rites, and he would scratch the bodies of the participants with thorns until their skins were covered with blood. He would chant special incantations to bring about the defeat or the disability or the death of particular rivals. The final training session before a game was an all-night dance. The competitors were required to fast from the time the dance began until the game was over. Now, the side of the game was not revealed until the last minute because they didn't want one team having an advantage over the other.
Wait a minute. You're going too fast because I have a question.
Okay.
Do you mean to tell me that they physically abused their players, they scratched them and made them bleed, and they made them stay up all night, and then they expected them to beat the other rival tribe the next day? Who in the heck is the coach of this outfit?
That's a good question. There's a few out there we could probably suggest, but I'm not going to. Anyway, after this, they had a ceremonial measuring of the playing field by the shaman, or the head guy. And then the important part of this whole thing was the staking of wagers, or the betting. I mean, they would bet dresses, blankets, pots, kettles, knives, dogs, horses. And the Indian women, they were right in there betting with the Braves. And so here we have the Braves. They filed out onto the field they'd have their breechcloths on and a head belt and a headband. And anyway, so here we have if you can picture this, the beating of the drums. Each team performed a ceremonial dance, and they'd strike their sticks together and sing loudly. The women of each party performed a separate dance, and they were chanting appeals to the Great Spirit for victory. The Cherokees. Now, in this particular sport, which I'm going to, if you can imagine lacrosse. Now, I don't know anything about lacrosse.
I've seen many games.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have no idea what the rules are, but this is kind of what we're looking at here.
Okay.
So they used 9 to 12 players on a team, and the challengers furnished the ball. The first team to get to 12 goals, they won the game. Now, the game began when a shaman tossed on the field a ball made of deer skin stuffed with deer hair. Now, the players would scramble for this ball, attempting to catch it in the ring pocket, like a lacrosse. Do they call it a racket?
Yeah, well, I think so, yeah. I'm not sure about all the terminology, yeah.
Okay, so they'd attempt to catch it in this pocket at the end of their stick, and then the ball was either carried across the opposing goal or hurled between the goalposts, which were set about 6 feet apart and connected by a crossbar, about 25 feet above the ground. So these were the goalposts, it says about 50 rods apart. Now, in this game, about anything was allowed, but you could not touch the ball with your hands.
Mm-hmm.
And you were not supposed to hit the other guy over the head with your stick or hit him on the hand.
Oh, they were more...
You can kind of run him over.
They were more advanced in the rules than hockey is today.
Yeah. I mean, you could do quite a bit. Now, here's the kicker, though. When either party cheats, a foul is called by the opposite party, and the game stops until the judges decide. Now, no one thinks of disputing the judge's decision, and there's no appeal. There's no instant replay. So what they decide is that's it.
What would they do to the guy that committed the foul? I mean, what would they do?
It doesn't say. I guess they just kept playing. So.
Okay.
Anyway, now there was another Indians living in the Great Lakes. They were not limited to 12 players. Sometimes they would actually have hundreds running about and jumping over people's heads, tripping, throwing, fouling. Scuffles over the ball developed sometimes into fights.
Sounds like a Lions-Packer game on Thanksgiving.
And then when the women folk weren't satisfied with the efforts of their players, they'd go out onto the field and they'd whip their warriors with birch switches.
Whoa, wait a minute. Stop for just a second. You're telling me that the squaws would go out onto the field with birch switches, you said?
Yeah.
And beat the players?
Yeah, tell them to get going.
Where's the incentive on their contract to play this stupid game?
Well, it's bragging rights, I guess. But, the season began in the middle of the summer, and it lasted until the cold weather set in. But the biggest games, I guess, just like, the Rose Bowl and all that, games were held in the autumn right until after the corn was harvested. And now, an interesting thing, the best runners and scorers were frequently killed before the end of the season because their opponents having ganged up on them to reduce the competition.
Whoa, stop again. There you go. You're making a point. You mean to tell me that it was legal to kill the other team?
Well, I'm not sure if they actually did it during the game or before or after or somewhere along the line. They would gang up, but I think it was actually during the game. They would kind of whack him around and, either get him out for the season or out for good.
Well, they didn't really need to have a medicine man, did they?
They didn't. But, legs and arms were often broken. But it says that after the game, there was no resentment after an accident, quote, accident. There was one particular incident that took place, though, in 1763. The Indians were pretty smart. The British were trying to control them, and so they said, hey, let's invite the British guys over to watch one of our games. And so the British, they were standing around watching one of their games, and just so happens that the Indians, in the course of play, the ball kind of landed near the open gates of the fort, and lo and behold, the warriors watching the game and the players dashed into the fort and took control of it. So,
now, nobody can accuse these British of being real sharp, can they?
No, but the Indians were.
Yeah.
So, anyway, so the French settlers in Canada, when they saw this game, they thought that the stick or the whatever it is that they had resembled the a bishop's crozier, the cross that a bishop carries, and so they termed it lacrosse. So that's where we get that name.
Now, there's a couple of interesting points to be made here. I did not know, honestly, you shocked me last week, that they had organized sports among the Indian tribes. Yeah. And you talk about rough. Why in the world would somebody want to grow up and try to be a lacrosse player? The future as a running back is limited.
Well, let me get to some of these other sports. The Apaches had a different kind of sport.
Oh, boy.
They had jousts, swimming matches, javelin, and
Wait a minute, Doc, there's no water down where the Apaches lived. How could they go swimming?
They must have dammed up something. But they were best at a game called pelota.
Pelota.
Okay? Now, this game resembles present-day football. But pelota was played with 14 men instead of 11, and a rock was used instead of a big stick.
Oh, this is going to get good.
So, the objective was not to cross the opponent's goal carrying the rock, but to force him to cross his own goal carrying the rock. Now, nothing was barred on this. An opponent could be knocked unconscious and carried across the goal, and sometimes the game was played with horses. A player could be roped, dragged up and down the field or across until he finally consented to cross his goal.
How dare people sit and moan and gripe and complain about how rough the NFL is today? It's a wussy game compared to the Apaches.
Yeah, but see, this was kind of if you lost, it was a disgrace. The relatives, basically, he was dismissed from the tribe. Now, if a player was unconscious or dead at the time of the crossing, then it was okay. He wasn't disgraced.
Say that again.
If he was unconscious or dead at the time when they took him across the goal with the rock, it was okay. No disgrace.
Yeah, what's the big deal?
Yeah, he's dead.
Yeah.
And a similar thing here to prepare for the games, the Apache Braves would have been known to walk through the briars and rolling thorns, and so they were covered with blood, and teammates would flog each other to stimulate the adrenaline, and they would drag each other across the fields and streams to toughen up their bodies.
Whoa, Doc, I'm telling you, these people were the precursor to a lot of our sports today, but I don't remember seeing, back in my day of football, Mike Ditka or Paul Hornung being dragged through thorns just before a Packers and a Bear game.
No. So now we've got lacrosse, now we've got rock football. Now here's the next game. It's called hoop and pole.
Oh, this is going to be good.
Now, this one, I'm having a hard time understanding this one. It was played on a pavement type of clay that was used for this purpose, and it was smooth and hard, like a floor, and they would have two guys that were kind of the head guys, and they would kind of choose their players, and bets were made. Now, they had a little ring that was 3 or 4 inches in diameter, cut out of stone.
Cut out of stone?
Yeah, out of stone.
Oh.
Now, then they had a stick that was about 6 feet long. Now, what they would do is they'd roll this stone in front of them, and each guy would attempt to throw his stick so that the rock would, when it fell, it would fall on his stick. And I don't quite understand this, but it's kind of hard to describe. But according to what I'm reading, they say it was a really kind of a graceful it wasn't a real blood and guts type sport.
Sounds to me like a lot of medicine men were pretty high on peyote before they come up with these games.
Well, the bad thing was the gambling. I mean,
gambling?
When they would gamble, they would give up everything, including offering themselves to be a slave to the other tribe.
Holy buckets!
So so the wagering was a huge thing. I mean, the loser, sometimes fights would get going, and sometimes the loss of many warriors. But to prevent this, it was long ago determined that no warrior should be present with his weapons, knives or bow and arrow, anything like that.
Well, that same is true today.
That's true. Okay. And the other thing is this game was always played a distance from camp. They had 3 prominent warriors that were named as judges, and here again, when their decision was made, there was no appeal, and they were not allowed to bet, contrary to some things in our area. Or, in our day, these guys were not allowed to bet on the game. So they were completely neutral.
What about cheerleaders? You said something last week that they had cheerleaders. What did they do? Shake beaver pelts or something, for heaven's sakes?
These are ones that would run out and beat the guys on the back.
Holy smokes, the Dallas Cowgirl cheerleaders aren't like that.
No, but the reason that there was at this particular game, women were forbidden to be present because they always caused a little confusion and they were taking sides.
Well, they still do, Doc. You know that as well as I do.
I've never seen a woman yell at a ball game, have you?
Yup.
But the women would actually play this game of hoop and roll, or hoop and pole also. So now here's another one. I know we're running out of time. I've got 2 more sports here.
Oh my goodness.
This one is called jousting basketball.
Oh, this is a good game. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Okay. Now this was the Arapaho Indians, and they spent most of their lives on horseback, and their sports were typical of the Plains Indians. The Arapahoes played a game which was kind of a combination of jousting and basketball. They'd have 2 horsemen, each carrying a spear with a jagged edge, and they would charge at a ball made of soft wood.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the ball was placed at an equal distance from each rider, the field about 2,000 yards long. The object was to pierce the ball, transport it to the point of origin, and throw it with the javelin through a hoop made of wild cherry branches.
Wow.
Each basket counted for 1 point, and 5 points won the game.
Holy cow.
Are you with me on that one?
I can't wait to get out on my horse after the program and try it.
Okay. Now, there's a couple of reasons why scores were low. One, accidents often happened, and an Arapaho horseman frequently lanced his opponent rather than the ball.
Oh, this is not good.
No. And second, the 2 opponents had to engage in an elaborate sun dance after each point was scored. And sometimes this dance lasted for hours, and the athletes were joined by the ritual societies of the men in the tribe, and sometimes the contest went on for several days just to get the 5 points.
Kind of like what they do in the NFL with the touchdown dance.
Yeah, only 3 or 4, from hours, and everybody joined in.
Oh, my goodness.
But the young Arapahoes were prepared for this sport from when they were just young boys. A boy of 6 or 7 years old would be tied to a pony's back and made to ride until the skin from his rear end and thighs had kind of been pretty well worn.
Oh.
And that's how they kind of trained these boys to be ready to play this jousting basketball game.
No, just a minute, though, because when you think about this, here you got these 2 guys jousting at each other, and you said a lot of times they missed the so-called ball and they would stab the other guy.
Right.
Okay. Now, who would want to be a backup player?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. If I'm on the bench, I want to be at the end of the bench.
I don't want to be a reserve.
No, I don't want to be sitting next to the coach.
Nope.
But anyway, before these games, or before this joust thing, a brave was prohibited from seeing his family for about 7 days, and from speaking to anyone for a day before the game. And then a half day before the contest began, his head was covered with a hood. Now, this hood could not be removed until he got on his horse and the action started. That's when they pulled the hood off, and away you go.
Wait a minute. What was the purpose of the hood? So the guy couldn't see anything?
I don't know.
You're coming up with some really weird rules here, Dr. History.
And here's another deal. After the game, the winner was assigned a special place among the chiefs. The loser, if he survived, was actually painted in bright colors and welcomed by all members of his tribe to show that the Arapahoes accepted him in spite of his defeat, if he was still alive.
If he was still alive.
Okay.
Oh, my.
All right, I got one more here real quick. I know we're running out of time. This is what I call swimming volleyball.
Oh, my.
Okay. This was a mixture of swimming, volleyball, and skin diving. Okay, they took a weighted leather-covered ball, and it was thrown into a river or lake. 7 players from either team dived after it. Now, the object was to recover it before it touched the bottom.
Uh-huh.
Okay, now if a player caught the ball before it hit the bottom, he carried it underwater to a place assigned before the game, and then with the help of his teammates, he tried to throw or hurl this ball over a vine or a net that was suspended across the bottom, the water's bottom.
Okay, how heavy was the ball?
I don't know. It just says, it was just a ball.
Did a lot of these guys not come up?
I don't know, But should the ball fall too fast and hit the bottom before somebody got to it, they would just start again.
How would they know?
Well, back then the rivers and lakes were clear. You could see. I wouldn't want to be the referee. You'd be down there for quite a while.
I would say.
But sometimes these would last a whole week, and the players would only stop for meals or when it was dark.
Well, I can just hear one Brave saying to the other, "Where's Utahe?" Well, he's at the bottom of the water over there. He's been down there since Wednesday. I don't know what he's doing.
He's over there somewhere. But the mothers would actually train these little kids from birth. A lot of times they'd take their little newborn kids and put them into water to kind of toughen their skin. And this was actually, as far as endurance, probably the toughest of all the sports because, again, you had to hold your breath. You were swimming underwater. You were carrying this heavy ball to try to get it up and over, plus you had guys trying to block you getting your ball over the net. I mean, so that was kind of an interesting sport, I
The
thought.
best job on the whole team would be a trainer.
That's right. Yeah. Anyway, and they had probably other sports that I haven't even mentioned yet. But anyway, those are just some of the ones I thought were kind of fascinating.
And as we speak, I'll bet you there's some person in the audience that's going to devise a new league where we're going to try to get a ball off the bottom of the Snake River.
You got to be able to see it first. It's going to have to be fluorescent.
This has been one of your most interesting programs ever. I really give you kudos on this, but I can't imagine why anybody would want to, quote unquote, try out for the team.
Well, it was strictly a glory, honor, bragging rights, you're right. I mean, sometimes to win, you had to be dead.
Man, there's a lot of glory in that, isn't there?
Or unconscious.
Hail to the victors.
Yeah.
Oh, man, you did it again. I tell you what, that was one of the most interesting you've ever had, and that was great. Dr. History, and all about games that we don't want our kids to play.
That's right.
God bless you, man. Thanks for a great week.
You have a good day, sir.
It was great. Thank you. Dr. History, better known as Dr. Ken Turner. Excellent. Hey, don't forget the Chadwick Sports Grill, 139 West Main in Burley, and always delicious food, always nice people. You're going to love it, and believe me, they've got senior citizen dinner specials Monday through Thursday from 4 to 6 p.m. for only $5.95. What is on the menu for today? Ground round steak with mashed potatoes, veggies, and super salad. Ooh, it's going to be good. Going to be good is good at the Chadwick Sports Grill, 139 West Main in Burley. You stop in and see them today. I'll be back in just a couple of minutes. Don't go away.
And now back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Oh my goodness, there's great things going on at the Rupert Bookstore and Office Supply at 515 5th Street in Rupert. Don't forget the bookstore's annual pre-Christmas open house, Friday, November 22nd. Going to be a lot of fun. Now, they'll be closed during the day that day, but open at 5 p.m. with all kinds of great items, great Christmas ideas. You're going to love shopping at the Rupert Bookstore and Office Supply, 515 5th Street in Rupert. And don't forget, coming up on this Thursday, the 16th, they're going to have 6 direct sales companies right there on the square for the holiday fair. All kinds of big things happening over in Christmas City at the Rupert Bookstore and Office Supply. Let's go to the phone lines right now, and a young man that I absolutely enjoy having on my program, very articulate and knowledgeable. We have, and he represents a group called For America, Executive Director David Bozell. David, good morning. How are you?
Hey, Zeb. How you doing, man? Thanks for having me on.
Well, it's always a treat to have you on with your knowledge and everything else, but boy, we've got some major problems going on in this country with the Obama administration, and not only what's happening with Obamacare, but also the infiltration now of the immigration reform. I'm very concerned what this man and the Democratic Party is going to do to try to literally buy votes for 2014. Bring us up to speed as to what's happening.
Well, there's the latest poll out that says 60% of the country doesn't want to have anything to do with this bill. Frankly, people want the laws that are on the books already enforced. Good news is, and there was a story in Politico today. Good news is there's only about 15 legislative days left for the U.S. House. It's not between now and the end of the year. So there's really not many days for them to be, coming into Washington and goofing around with this thing. That's a good thing. I mean, the fact that they're not here is a good thing. So let them stay back in their districts instead of trying to sort of rule over us from Washington. But really, where the rubber is going to meet the road, and this is really just for Republicans. If and when the president decides, well, I can't get anything done through Congress, and he's going to try to muscle some immigration reform rules and regulations, through the bureaucracy. If and when he does it, and he's already done this once, but about right before the election, if everyone remembers, he did it last year. If he tries to do it again with a more enhanced package, are the Republicans going to man up and decide once and for all that they have the constitutional authority over the rule and regulation making process in this country, and the president does not? Are they going to take him on when he tries to do it? That's going to be where the rubber meets the road. That's something that for all the constituents out there to keep in mind when they're going to the polls in 2014. Does your congressman have the stones to stand up to the president as he tries to muscle his agenda through the bureaucracy?
Well, here's my thinking on this, David, and I want to get your opinion on what I think about immigration reform. Number one, I'm going to be one of these people that's going to say we need to have a much more closed-door policy until we get our economic structure back in order, until we get our jobs more lined out for our American citizens, and we get Obamacare straightened out, which is going to be a complete financial fiasco. I say that we ought to have a quota system on people coming into this country, legal, and then also do a complete curtailment on illegal. I am not in favor of letting these people stay in this country right now and aid and abet an infrastructure that cannot take care of them.
Well, why do people come here? They come here because they get something for free.
There you go.
They get something subsidized. Those types of things. Look, we were a nation built on immigrants. People throw that line around a lot, and it's true. I mean, a lot of conservatives want to build a wall. That's not something that I'm particularly in favor of. I just don't like the optics of having a massive wall, and it just doesn't. My gut tells me that just doesn't. That's not going to solve matters. But at the end of the day, we have rules and laws that are on the books that put people at the back of the line when they come in here illegally, that kick people out when they come in here illegally and violate more laws. We have rules on the books that prevent people from coming in here illegally and benefiting from the social programs. It's all up to the states and the federal government to enforce these laws. We do not need another, package, a pretend package, and we do not need to be granting citizenship to lawbreakers. And I think that's where that's a deal breaker for the majority of the American people, even those who supported Obama. You simply cannot grant amnesty to lawbreakers who came here illegally.
Yeah, but David,
if you want to grandfather in children who were born here, not of their own choice. Let's have a discussion on that. But you can do this thing in piecemeal.
Absolutely. David, here, though, you have a problem that's already been in occurrence for many, many months now. California is thumbing their nose at the rest of the nation, and especially our government and our Constitution, and they're saying, well, we don't care what you like, and we don't care what's legal. We're going to go ahead and treat these people as legal citizens, give them driver's licenses and everything else. You can't have that kind of chaos in the United States.
Well, that's why Carolina's economic system is just basically beyond helping at this point, and they're they're about a half a decade away from falling into the Pacific Ocean, and no one's going to hear from them again because the federal government is going to have to bail out California one of these days. I mean, if you look at the unfunded liabilities for exactly that kind of thing, the government is going to have to step in, you and me, from other states, and is going to have to decide whether or not they're going to bail out California. And they're at the top of the list when it comes to the states who have massive economic problems. Illinois is another one. New Jersey was another one before Christie kind of cleaned things up a little bit. But if you project to the end of the decade, there are a number of states who are basically going to have to declare bankruptcy, and it's because of those types of policies you just mentioned in California, where you let everyone get a free ride. Yeah, nothing's for free in life, folks.
When you have a bailout, though, and you purport that to the American public, and Obama gets on television with his big toothy grin and says, well, we're going to have to bail out California for X of billions of dollars, then there's also got to be a caveat that says, then they will start playing by the rules. You can't just let this continue.
Well, that's in a dream world. Within the Obama administration, so there are no rules. I mean, he doesn't see when he can't get anything done. When he can't get something done in Congress, he just goes through the bureaucracy. When he can't get something done through the bureaucracy, he hedges his bets on the judiciary. He finds a way, and the Republicans, most of them anyway, simply just do not have the moxie to stand up for him. And that's the appetite that's what I want to see out of the Republican Party going forward in 2014. Enough is enough with this stuff. Do you have the appetite to reclaim this authority? You just cannot punt this to future generations and expect to get reelected. That's a surefire way to the minority.
Okay, now explain this to me. The Democrats say that they're playing up to the base of the immigrants and that they're trying to get them basically to go along with their party. And the Republicans are saying, well, with Marco Rubio and others, we feel like we can play up to their needs, etc. All of this is just a bunch of theater. And as far as I'm concerned, it's another word, but I can't use it on the radio. Is there a leader out in the Republican Party today that can stand up for values in the Constitution and still win the possible election?
Well, that is the $64,000 question, Zeb. I mean, the good news is that you've got some folks, Mike Lee, Utah, near you guys. Ted Cruz is obviously names. I mean, look, there's no surprise that Ted Cruz is leading the presidential primary numbers right now because he picked a fight. Because he stood for principle. I mean, these folks who look what guys like Paul Ryan says. Well, you can't defund Obamacare. I mean, you just can't do it. Well, then what the heck did they vote to do a few weeks ago? Was that fake? And he's supposedly the arbiter of all things budget matters for conservatives in the House, and he's saying that it can't be done. Well, what did they do? Was that a fake thing? Was it fake that what Ted Cruz was standing up 21 hours? Overnight for? Was that a fake thing? Don't be disingenuous with your base. This is sadly why Ken Cuccinelli lost here in Virginia because apparently he kind of took his base for granted. Mm-hmm. And you've got to solidify that stuff if you aim to win. And when it comes to people just playing politics with the Latino vote, they really, really are. And it's a sad state of affairs. But the Republicans, at the end of the day, have to be for something. I'm going to go out and vote Republican because of blank reason.
Okay, but now I've got to ask you.
From the upper echelons of the Republican leadership on down, they're struggling for a cohesive message. No doubt about it.
Okay, now that right there, you said the Republican Party is struggling. I couldn't agree with you more. But then why do they take both guns out of the holsters and shoot themselves in their own boots when they basically turned the Tea Party and a lot of those people away? It seems like they would be opening their arms and saying, hey, together we can turn this thing around. What's the matter with the leadership?
You would think. I mean, it's almost like those, Zeb, it's almost like those Godfather movies where, the first one where they say, every 5 years there has to be a war in the family just to, cleanse things. And that's what's going on. And it's sad. The sad state of affairs. The accusation that Tea Party folks are looking for purity, that's silly. That's silly. Tea Party patriots, we want to win just as much as the establishment does. We want to win these things, but to turn your back on your base, the very same base that got you the House majority in 2010, to turn your back on is so dumb politically. It's not to be believed, and the establishment is dead set and determined on doing that.
David, as incredulously stupid and inept as Obamacare's inception was on October 1st, do you see any way that the Republicans, if they don't get their act together, they can't take over some of the Senate seats and they can retain the House seats in 2014? This Obamacare could be the albatross around the Democrats' neck that will put them at the bottom of the lake.
If it weren't for Obamacare, Ken Cuccinelli would have gotten creamed.
Right.
I like Ken. I raised a lot of money for Ken, and he would have gotten creamed if it weren't for Obamacare at the last minute. Again, it begs the question: why are Republicans running for office? Why are you running for office? Give me a reason to go out and vote for you. Obamacare, it could be an albatross, but again, how much is Obama going to tweak the law as he goes forward here? Does it really matter that young people don't sign up for this thing? It's only a $95 fine for young people in the first year. Is it really going to be a deal breaker for young people, young healthy people? I don't think so. Is it going to be a deal breaker for the insurance companies that they don't get that income? They've already bought into this thing, hook, line, and sinker. These guys. Nobody held a gun to their head to be involved in Obamacare. Those that did understood that they were going to be in the red for the first couple of years, with the understanding that as the mandates kicked in and the fines increased, they would have younger, healthier people added to the rolls. So you're not going to see the insurance companies crowing about it. At the end of the day, it's going to be up to the Republican Party to come up with an alternative, and there are dozens of them out there, but they have to coalesce around one and make the sale to the American people.
But in the interim time,
they have to be for something. They can't just be running against Obamacare day in and day out, because it has not worked electorally.
I agree with you, but there's one final point there I want you to make. They have seen so much hurt, they've seen so much pain, and they've seen so many Americans right now that need chemotherapy treatments, that need the dialysis for their kidney treatments. Right. And right now they have no policies. They're throwing their hands up in the air and they're going, this is not the America that it used to be 25 years ago. Is there any hope that there's somehow we can get this thing turned around so these people are not going to have everything they've lived and worked for go down the tubes and drain in vain, I mean?
You make an interesting point. Basically, to date, Obama has basically been sort of a Teflon president. Nothing seems to stick to him. Nothing the Republicans throw at him seems to stick. But what you're saying with people's lives are at stake here, with the cancer treatments expiring, with these plans being canceled, and we're talking millions of plans, millions of people. It's sad to have to say that, but that could be the thing that changes this around electorally for the Republican Party, because it's no credit to them, unfortunately. But when you have people's lives in danger, and policy matters, and when this policy is endangering lives, and now that it's coming to fruition, perhaps that'll get us out from this dark tunnel here.
All right.
But it's sad that you look across to the other side of the aisle, to our side, and the upper echelons of the Republican leadership don't have an answer.
Executive Director
I hate to
for...
be morbid about that stuff, but it's just the way I just call it the way I see it.
And I respect that. Executive Director for America. Great man. I love having him on the program. David Bozell, come back and talk to us again in the future, sir.
Anytime, Zed. Anytime. Thanks so much.
Thank you, sir. Very, very poignant remarks from David Bozell, and I appreciate him and his dad and everything they do back there on the East Coast for America. Thank you very much. Hey, it is time for a weather update. As I said last hour, it's past time, actually. And your weather update this hour is brought to you by Lennox Home Comfort Systems, gas furnaces, heat pumps, the whole shootery, right there at Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Here's Michael Rogers.
Hey everybody, Michael Rogers from MichaelRogersWeather.com. Not a bad day in the neighborhood. 68 for the high, 45 for the overnight low. You'll see a lot of sun, and you're also going to see a lot of clouds. 61 for the high tomorrow, 50 for Thursday, but otherwise, not a bad week for fall in November in Magic Valley. Enjoy the day, enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
Thank you, Michael. Brought to you this hour by Lennox Home Comfort Systems through our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Oh, Gina, are you right there?
Yeah, I'm ready to take a nap, actually. I'm tired.
Really? Take a nap?
Mm-hmm.
Now, you're not even close to my age, but I'll tell you something that you can get into a really bad habit, okay?
Mm-hmm.
We'll have, after the program's over, Deanna and I will leave the office and we'll go out in the living room and we'll go through the mail and I'll go through many of my emails and then she'll have lunch and then I pass out. For about an hour, I'm gone.
Oh, I wish I could do that. I don't get that opportunity.
It's the worst thing in the world because a lot of times you only want to say, I'm going to close my eyes for 10 minutes and then we got to go to this meeting, we got to go to this meeting, we got to go here, we got to go there. And you wake up and it's like 1:45 and you say to yourself, well, there's words you can't put on the radio. But anyhow, your whole day's shot.
You're like, self? Well, we kind of shot ourselves in the foot on that one.
Yeah, and today is a special day because I cannot fall asleep. I've got to remain alert because I'm going to give her the credit card.
Go charge it up, Deanne. Go charge it up, baby.
She deserves it.
Yes, she does.
We're going to go to town, and we're going to go shopping, which I make no bones about. I would rather cut off my good leg. And then we're going to go to dinner.
Her choice?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, everything is her pick today.
Oh, good. Well, Deanne, pick well.
In other words, you're saying pick exuberantly for more money spent, I'm sure.
She has good taste.
She does have good taste.
Yes.
But she deserves the day, and she already gave me my anniversary present this morning, a nice, beautiful, brand new, heavy, warm shirt.
I figured maybe it was a new set of headphones and a microphone, maybe, but, you know.
No.
Who am I?
No. And so I'm going to take her to town and just say, pick out anything you want.
You are the man, and you have a phone call.
I'll take that call. Good morning, you're on the air.
Zeb?
Yes?
Obama was about as sincere in his apology as he was when he laid the wreath yesterday at the unknown tomb.
I have a tendency...
seriousness, it was just a cakewalk.
Yeah.
A theatrical performance for him.
I think that's a good way to put it, a theatrical performance. This man has absolutely duped America. He's lied to America. His aides and associates have lied to America. They're finding emails and memos now after the fact that many people in his administration knew that insurance programs were going to be turned upside down because of Obamacare. I'm telling you, Bob, I have nothing good to say about Obama and his henchmen because I think this will go down in history as one of the most criminal administrations ever in the history of this country.
And he is not a president, he's a dictator.
Becoming more so every day.
Okay, have a good one and take good care of your bride.
I will, sir. Thank you. Thank you for your call. Very nice. Thank you. I'm not going to mince words about Obama. There are those that say, well, you're just partisan because you're a Republican. No. Let's be real cautious there. I vote for the best man for the job, and that's an independent area. And I think that this is going to go down in the annals of history as the worst administration that did the most harm to America and our Constitution, bar none. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning again, Jeb.
Yes, sir.
I started watching that yesterday when he started saying how he takes care of our troops and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I got sick to my stomach. He's nothing but a damn liar. And personally, I wish he'd had somebody else lay that wreath.
The man's actions, the man's previous comments, the man's previous writings about what he has said in his books about the military and everything else, and also the man's wife, Michelle, and her comments, leads one to really wonder and question how theatrical he really was yesterday.
I know it. It's just disgusting, and I'm getting sick and tired of it. Quit using the people that you've abused to your advantage, Mr. President. Go back home where you belong and leave us alone.
Yeah, well, when you say home, that's kind of ambiguous. I don't know where to tell him to go.
Can you?
All right, Al. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Just a real quick note here. About a year and a half ago, maybe it was a little longer, I said on the air that I really thought that Chris Christie of New Jersey would be good presidential fodder, and I withdrew that, and I still have it withdrawn. There's a lot of reservations I have about this man. There's a lot of reservations I have about his attitude, his politics, and also really what he believes. And unfortunately, it looks like all of a sudden over the matter of a few weeks, this man has propelled himself possibly into the position of being the Republican frontrunner, possibly for throwing his name in the hat for the presidency in 2016, and I don't like him. I don't trust him. I don't trust his politics, and I certainly don't think he's conservative. To be very honest with you, I would put his political stance in the same areas as our own Congressman Mike Simpson. Very wishy-washy and not truly conservative. And for him to get on television and basically push this tough boy, this tough guy image, I think it's all a fraud and a phony attitude. I just don't think that he would be good, i.e. for the Republican Party or for the presidency of the United States. And that's subject to change. I might be wrong. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I saw his turncoat attitude when he walked down the beach with Obama. The only thing that wasn't playing in the background was a love song. I want to remind you about what's going on at your winter safe driving headquarters, and that's your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations with the best of winter traction tires, the best of studded tires, the best of batteries, the very best of batteries. I mean, boy, don't be left out in the cold like they say. Have a free battery test today and make sure that your car and pickup's going to start. Don't forget they've got all your tire chains, they got the snow wheels, and the absolute best in brake service. I can guarantee you that. You're going to love going in there because you know you're going to be winter ready for safe driving at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers with Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, John on Pole Line in Twin Falls, and Randy the old Seahawk fan on Overland and Burley, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Okay, let's take a look and see what we've got cooking for tomorrow's program real quick. Open forum in the morning, first hour, 8:06 to 9. Your questions and thoughts about a multiplicity of different subjects I'm going to have. Then from Colorado at 9:06, Doug Johnson. I always really look forward to Doug. He appears on so many different radio and television programs, and we're honored to have him on a weekly basis. And he suggested to me about 2-3 weeks ago to get a hold of a gentleman by the name of Tom DeWeese back on the East Coast. And Tom is absolutely ardent follower of what's happening with Agenda 21. It's going to be very interesting, and I'm sure a lot of you will really appreciate it. And then at 10:06 on the telephone line, Michael Rogers is going to call in and talk to us about his photography and how some of his top-notch photos have been accepted for the covers of various magazines. And then Cassia County Extension educator Joel Packham wrote a very interesting piece about agriculture, and we're going to have him on the air at 10:30 tomorrow morning. So all of that and more on Zeb at the Ranch for tomorrow, and it should be a really, really good program. I'm going to go celebrate with my bride of 42 years, and we're going to take off, and we're just going to enjoy a nice anniversary. And we will talk to you tomorrow morning at 8:06. We'll saddle the horse and ride for 3 hours right here on KBAR, 1230 a.m., and streaming live all over the universe on ZebBell.com. Until tomorrow morning at 8:06, remember this: God bless, and the way things were are the way things ought to be. See you tomorrow morning.